Okay, now, since I jumped the gun a little bit, this will be redundant. Mr. Martin, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
We do, very good. To the minutes of the regular meeting of November 16, 2020. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Yeah, I had a small, this is Ann. I sent a small correction in to Tricia earlier today. Just adding a little bit of language. I can't find it. There was just a clause missing. On page 2306. It was a statement or a question I had. It should have read, she doesn't know.
Yeah, so,
On page 2306,
Yeah,
okay, it'll be just like 2 minutes.
what is your correction?
Okay,
you ready for a correction?
Let it fly.
Okay, 6th line down, the first word is no. And it should read, no, if this is what's been going on so far, comma, but, and then insert, it had been suggested that they would be, that's the end of the insert, turning over 100 vehicles every week or week and a half.
Anything further from anyone? If not, do I have a motion?
Also to accept the minutes of last meeting. Okay.
Yep. Motion's been made to the motion. Do I have a second?
I second it. This is Ann.
Motion.
By the way, Tricia asked that I indicate when I speak that I'm Ann, not Meredith. So if I preface a lot of what I say, this is Ann. And so Tricia can sort us out.
To the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion has been made, second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstain. This is Jerry.
Oh, Jerry's going to abstain. He wasn't at that meeting.
Very good. Motion carries. Okay. What do I have next? First item I have is lawn care, I think. We have one of those.
yes. Dave Whitbeck, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to put my phone right up next to Peter so you can hear him hopefully pretty well.
Okay.
Tell us a story. What are we doing?
What are you asking me what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was waiting to find out from you guys what we're doing. I submitted everything, I think, according to what you guys needed. And realistically, I mean, I'm just hoping you guys will give me the go ahead to you know, operate and move forward. I personally don't have any questions and unless you guys do, I'm ready to just start operating as normal.
Okay. And you had discussions with, I think, Mr. Martin about a different type of backup alarm for your trucks?
Well, basically what it was making it available for us to shut it off, like turn it off, so when we're in there, you know, at any point in the middle of the night, which even in this last storm, we didn't go in and out, I don't think more than 2 times the whole night. In fact, we were there again come morning time for being out the whole night. So, but while we're in there, we don't need backup alarms. We have lights and stuff. We can see each other. We have our windows down to here. So, we're gonna, when we install
Martin, do we have all the items that we were seeking?
Well, I'm gonna go through the list. The last time we talked about this was in October, according to my notes, because he was not here for the November meeting and he asked for an extension. Move and reconfigure the access. As I understand it, the access was discussed with the highway superintendent. And I think the conclusion was if we could leave the existing driveway where it is, I think that was Paul's preference. That's what I heard from Paul in verbal discussions with him.
Can I interrupt him or no?
Sure.
I too would talk with Paul, and I understand where Paul's coming from. My concern is that I've seen triaxle dump trucks in there, dumping dirt, that kind of thing. So I would think, and I would hope, maybe by spring, that we could put that other entrance in. I don't want to see an accident there. There's a lot of little kids, a lot of school buses, those kind of things. I see you're dumping fill in the back. We need to put some silt fence up there for one. And the other thing is to proceed with that entrance maybe by the spring. Because of the dump trucks that I see coming in there, So that's my opinion. And the only other thing I'd like to see in there is, I don't want to be the guy to say, turn off your backup alarms and have somebody get hit. I would rather see some shrubbery or some sort of a noise buffer put along the outside of that, along Nolan Road. That would clean it up for one and make it look nice. And then it would also be a sound buffer there because there are families there. There's some elderly people in the back and there's some children and stuff that live across the street. So I think by putting some shrubbery there and buffering that noise, that would be a good benefit. So those are the two things that I'd like to see done. Besides that, the place looks very nice.
So you're saying a second entrance in the spring?
I would think so, only because I frequent that road. I don't live too far from there. I've seen triaxle dump trucks in there, dumping dirt and that kind of thing. And to me, that swing, and I've driven many trucks, and I've been around public works for 40 years. It needs to be addressed. I'm not disagreeing with Paul. I have a lot of respect for Paul, and I understand what he's saying. The place has been there for many years, but there's been many changes. So I believe that second entrance should be put in by spring.
I'm not going to be able to put that second entrance in by spring, and I'm going to have to rearrange everything I have in front of you guys right now to be able to make that happen. It's going to consume it's going to take away from 20% of the availability in space that I need. So I'm not going to put a second entrance in really at all to be able to operate. One thing I can do, one solution I can offer is that we open up what is currently there to allow for triaxles to get in and out, opening it up another 20 feet on the Nolan Road west side would easily solve that problem right there with any type of, if I open that up 20 feet, I can fit a 53-foot long trailer in there, which I'm not even going to try to, but that means that a triaxle dump truck's going to be able to flow in and out of there absolutely.
I would go along with that as long as Paul checked it out and said it was okay with Paul. I know what exactly what he's saying is you're going to widen it out 20 feet going to the west on Nolan Road. So then you can come there and then you could be almost straight on a right-hand turn.
Pretty much, yes.
Right? Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's a good idea. That's an excellent idea.
That was like what we put a lot of thought into that entrance area. It would just consume so much space, so that was the most reasonable on our end.
That would be fine. And again, I don't want to be the guy to say turn off your alarm systems because that's a safety issue with me, with the experience that I had with trucks and stuff. I would rather see some shrubbery put up there to buffer that noise.
Well, as far as shrubbery goes, one thing I can say is we are going to try to purchase the building. And until it's purchased, I'm going to have to work with Ty to see if he's going to swing any money to put up shrubbery, because it is not cheap to put up shrubbery across, and as a screening across 120 feet to border the housing in the back.
No,
you're gonna, I'm gonna need time on that for sure. And again, I'm gonna, with any luck, try to purchase this building. If I do, I will happily put shrubbery all around.
Okay. All right, so what do we do in the meantime now with the noise?
Well, I mean, right now there's snow that'll definitely help in the summer.
Yeah.
When the ice comes back, I mean, we're gonna put a fence through there. And there's nothing we can do in the winter anyways. As far
Yeah,
as-
no, I hear that.
You know, so I'm just gonna need time to talk with Ty about what's going on, and I'm gonna deal with the bank and all that stuff and really see what's reasonable for us to do, working together, because if the bank's ready to move forward with a purchase sooner than Ty's willing to throw money towards that property, then he's just gonna tell me, no, I'm not gonna pitch in if you're just buying the property in another 6
Yeah,
months. You know. We just have to arrange everything, but I definitely, we already had a discussion about putting, like 20, green giant arborvitaes along the back. They grow, you know, fairly tall and fairly thick, so you want to be able to see through, definitely a noise barrier as well. And I think that solves the problem, and it also helps us too with security.
Okay. All right, so in the meantime, we keep the noise down?
Oh, yeah, we'll just keep it down. I mean, if anybody has a complaint, they are 100% welcome to give me a call directly, and we'll address it for sure. So
Okay.
we're going to do our best to keep things to a minimum after normal business hours, because I don't really want to work anyways. And when we're there, we'll just be as respectful as humanly possible.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
This is Ann. I have a question about the widening of that entryway. That means you'll take away a couple of parking spots? Correct?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the parking spots, to be honest. We have access on the other side. We moved that shelter lodging back to the back corner. We have room over there for 7 more spaces if we need them. I'm not even going to be planning to put anything there for quite a while. So, I mean, worst case scenario, even though we'd have, I think, 12, we're going to lose 2. We still have, I believe, 12 spaces available, which is more than we need right now. And like I said, we can at least get 7 more on the other side if need be.
Jim, what would be the parking requirement for this operation?
I'm sorry, I can't.
I'm asking Jim.
She's asking me, David, what the parking requirement would be. Dave, what's the size of your retail floor space inside the building?
Oh, jeez. I don't think I ever took, I don't know if I took that measurement or not. I want to say it's like 40 by 15 and stuff. It's pretty small.
Yeah, that's about right.
So he's probably got about 400 or 500 square feet of customer area. So the parking requirement would be 5 spaces for every, 1 space for every 100 square feet. So that'd be 4 to 5 spaces for the customer.
Oh, I got all of that because we're only going to consume about 5 spaces right off the bat. And I mean, if we have 12 available now and the option for 7 more on the other side,
The other thing that factors in, Dave, do you have any employees parking on site?
I do have employee parking on site, yes. That's the spot where we're gonna lose a couple. But a couple of us that work, you know, administratively can just park up front where there's 7 available spaces, and we can even add 1 or 2 more onto the end of that.
So how many employee spaces do you need?
5 or 6, I would say.
So, and I would say the overall parking requirement is 10 for the site.
Okay, yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment at this point.
Okay, can we make that a part of the site plan then, that there are 10 spaces designated as
Yes.
such?
Yes.
When it comes time to need that, can we just kind of submit something then? I mean, we don't really need it at this point, and I don't see us needing it anytime soon.
We're gonna do the 20 foot entranceway right away, right?
Or as soon as the ground's thawed enough
And there's no frost on the ground right now, especially where the snow is.
Yeah, well, by the time I get a chance to do it, I think that there will be. We're a little backed up even with this storm, and we just have a lot going on. I don't see myself being free to move that fence for a month. But I mean, I guess I could tear out the fence and just move the snowbank over. What's the difference, right? That big post.
That'll work. That'll work, so we don't have an accident.
If you want to allow this business to operate, and if this relocation is part of your concern, you can condition his approval on accomplishing this within a reasonable timeframe, whatever we decide that is.
Okay.
And that way, we can keep everybody going.
90 days, would that be fair, if we put them into the spring?
Well, we want to make sure we get it into the spring, so,
I think we want to be beyond the frost.
So,
we need to.
I think May 15th is a fair date,
okay,
you know, whatever.
I'm okay with that, sure.
I didn't get any of that.
Well, we're trying to keep it in the dark.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm okay with this.
Yeah, you're okay, don't worry.
All right.
Well, no, we'll explain it. I just want to get through the list. Okay, you spoke to the privacy fence, so what I'm hearing is a combination of fence and screening, I mean vegetative screening. So some combination of fencing and vegetative screening for both the visual and the noise
You
issues.
won't even be out of
Then, let's see here. The salt storage, Dave, what's going on with the storage of the material?
There's none right now. Right now, the size of the accounts that we have, I actually use 5-gallon buckets, and we palletize our salt in advance and just leave it inside to keep it warm on pallets. And then we just dump it in. I use a tailgate spreader because we don't really need anything bigger than that at this point. But when the time comes, we're going to use one of our bins that we use like stone in, or just a concrete floor and a cover over it, so that way it stays contained rather than able to seep into the ground. So we'll put little forms around it. I'll come to you guys when I'm ready to do it, and I'll put permits in and all that stuff. We'll make sure it's right, but I'm not in a position right now where I need it.
Okay.
So I haven't even completely designed it. I'm just gonna use one of the bins that we would normally put like crushed on it.
Okay. Okay, we got the,
So we're not looking as a company of snow removal to get like big accounts like, commercial, like big, plazas and Lowe's and stuff like that. I don't want anything to do with that stuff. That's a rat race to the bottom as far financially, so I stay out of that. We do small commercial only and residential, which allows us to not have to use as much materials too. So there's less chasing things down, there's less equipment needed. And really it's all about, we can operate with smaller equipment than some of the bigger companies. This company is really based on maintenance, for again, small business and residents, and that's it. I don't want to deal with big commercial corporations and stuff like that. So we're not going to have a need for a giant salt bin in there. It's going to be a pretty small, modest bin that isn't even going to be recognizable as a salt bin by anyone.
the other issue was the weight limit on Nolan Road. I asked Paul about that. There is none.
What's that?
The weight limit on Nolan Road, there is no weight limit.
The weight limit on Nolan Road is non-existent, according to our superintendent of highways.
Well, that's a good thing.
And then the last thing I have is hours of operation and backup beepers.
Hour of operations and what?
Backup beepers.
Backup alarm.
Well, hours of operation normally are going to be Monday through Friday. Our crews will get in there around 7 I would say those guys are gonna run till 5, and then the office will be open like 9 to 5:30. And then on Saturdays, the guys do the same thing, really, it all depends on the weather. If they work on Saturday, it's probably a full day, but the office will be open half a day. From like 8 to noon or 8 to 2 on Saturdays.
Okay. And any backup alarms on any of the equipment?
There's none on them right now. You know, the bigger we get, the more, I shouldn't even say the bigger, but the more established we get, the scarier it is to have something like a OSHA violation for not having them. I'm sure we can manage. I'm sure we can manage to keep it, you know, to an extreme minimum for anyone. So, I mean, we're gonna have them on our trucks at some point because we have to, and it lowers my insurance. But,
Of course, is, Mr. Merkin, Adam on? Is Adam on?
Yes, Adam is on. Yes.
All right. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Whitbeck has left, but Adam came up with a scenario where he has encountered or not information on different backup alarms. Adam, can you elucidate on that?
Yeah, so at the plant that I work at, we use white noise backup alarms. So they're just, I guess, less noisy for the neighbors.
I'm not sure I got any of that. I just heard the last noise neighbors are.
Yeah, they make white noise backup alarms.
White noise?
Yes,
Yeah.
white noise.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, they're pretty effective.
Yeah, sure. I can't stand listening to them beep either, so.
You don't want to see me at 2 in the morning.
You do not want to see Mike in his pajamas.
God, no. I would be like that myself.
Adam, what does it sound like?
You'd have to ask Adam now.
He's gonna,
Yeah, they're pretty cheap too, only $30 really on Amazon, so I don't see why I can't.
He's already looking it up, so yeah, he's got it.
And they just.
Sorry, it's like I'm sorry, it's just like a whooshing noise,
He found it on Amazon, Adam.
like a whoosh. It's unless you're right behind the vehicle, you can't really hear it from that far away. It's pretty direct, localized. You can hear it when you're right behind, but yeah, it's like air brakes.
Huh.
That's awesome.
okay, so I have 7 items, and I think that addresses everything we had outstanding from October anyhow.
Okay. So what's further?
Peter, can I say, I just want to make sure Paul Joseph's okay with that 20-foot extension that he wants to do. I think it'll work.
I think Paul would, because I think, Dave, did you and Paul talk about widening the driveway when Paul was there?
What's that?
Could you ask him, Peter?
Did you have conversations with Paul about the lighting for the driveway?
Yeah, well, yes, he said that, you know, if we were gonna have bigger vehicles in and out of there, that, you know, he didn't think the drive-through was a big ordeal, but, you know, he did say that if we were gonna have bigger vehicles in there, we would have to either put something in the back or open it up. That was really
I think he's fine.
his suggestion before I even
Okay.
brought it to him.
Okay.
All right, Peter, would you like me to recount the 7 items?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have number 1, install a silt fence in the areas where there's been fill placed. A vegetative fence or built fence for screening along Nolan Road. Any combination of the two. Widen the existing driveway to accommodate longer axle trucks. parking with a minimum of 10 spaces shown. The spaces have to be 10 feet by 20 feet in their dimension. 5, salt storage will occur inside or within a contained bin. Hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Office will be 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturday, 8 to 2. And then 7, install, when needed, install white noise backup alarms on the site vehicles. 7 items.
I already ordered them on Amazon. Just ordered 4.
Did you hear all of those, Dave?
I did, I think that's all pretty easy. As far as the shrubs go, bear with me on that. I'll price them out. I'm probably gonna price out 4 to 6 footers. They grow at 12 to 18 inches tall a year, so it won't take very long for it to become a 10-foot grow, but even trying to buy 10-foot plants is, very, very, very difficult to do.
Sure.
So we'll get something up, we'll get something in there regardless, but you just have to bear with me on the grow rate of them. Plus, it's very shaded back there, and most of these arborvitaes and stuff, they'll hold up to it because there's a lot of eastern sun, but I gotta separate, I have to space them accordingly. So there isn't gonna be a full screen right away, but it will grow into it in about 2 years. It's just, it would suffocate them out to any closer than that.
Well, I think the only 2 items of the 7 that are going to come into a time frame, we talked about a May 15th date, would be, to the extent you are going to plant vegetated screening, we'd like to see it installed by that May 15th date, and the widening of the driveway by May 15th.
May 15th, okay, yep.
Hey, Jim?
Yes.
I think that those 2 will also kind of create that the establishment of the 10 parking spots probably can't be finalized until May 15th either.
I believe there's already 12 spots over there. So
Well, what I was gonna suggest, Jerry, is that a site plan, and I'll meet with Dave, he's gonna have to revise the site plan a little bit and show the 10 spaces and how the driveway widening works and all that, so we have it on a site plan that can be signed.
Agreed.
Okay, good.
All right? And these notations will be on the site plan. I'll go over with them and make sure they're on the site plan before you guys come in to sign it.
All right, Dave, I can work these out with you in terms of the notes you have to put on the site plan and things. Just some minor revisions to what you've already done.
I can't hear you, Jim.
Minor revisions to the site plan you have already completed.
All right? If you come in and see me, we can go over these revisions and get them on your site plan.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we can do that. What do you think, like Monday or Tuesday after Christmas?
Yes, I'm on vacation between the 2 holidays, but the first week of January, I'll be in the normal hours.
Perfect, because I was hoping to take that week off too.
All right, that works.
Dave, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Now, Laura, is there anything further that you want to do 2 or 4 this applicant?
Oh, and Peter, you should be acknowledged that this is I believe it's a type 2 action.
Yes.
Can Dave touch base with Paul, or are you going to? With Paul in that 20 foot, just
Yes, yep, I'll check with Paul.
okay. Maybe a letter or something from Paul will be great. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Okay. Board, is there anything further? If not, you have it in your prerogative if you wish to hold a public hearing for this application. Do I hear feedback?
Should the neighbors know there?
It's up to you guys. I mean, you normally do. When I spoke with Dave, he's not, I mean, we're going along here, so he's fine with if this gets put off till January. I think I can confirm that with him, but last I knew, he said he was fine with that, so. We could hold a public hearing in January if you'd like.
Your opinion?
All I can tell you is we've gotten no complaints about this use there. Other than, we did get inquiries from the board members about how this occurred without site plan review, but there's been nothing out of the neighborhood.
Yeah,
We've not notified anybody, to be honest, so, but if you want us to, we will.
I'm of the opinion that it's on Route 9. We've historically done site plan there. And I mean, my opinion is that it's unlikely to garner a lot of public response, given that they haven't, to this point, commented and the business is operating. We're not really preventing him from continuing what he's doing by holding the public hearing.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to have it. If no one shows up, we're done in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel.
That's correct. Your policy has been to do public hearings for projects fronting on Route 9.
I think we should, just so they could say we didn't.
And then we'll get one last look at a nice clean site plan too, right? You should have everything incorporated by that point.
I'll get with Dave as I indicated in the first week in January and see if we can polish this up.
Yeah.
Do we want to set a date for the public hearing now, or?
Do I have a motion for the public hearing if that's your desire?
I'll second.
Well, I think we need a motion. What date's the meeting next month? Let's see.
Of course, it's January. Still there, Dave?
It's the 18th?
isn't January one of the ones where we move it?
Yeah, because the Martin Luther King holiday is the 18th.
Yes. So you want to move to the 25th? Because any earlier, it's tough for us to get the notices done.
All right,
25th?
I'll make a motion to reschedule our normal planning board meeting for the month of January 2021 to be January 25th at 7 p.m. and for February of 2021 to be February 22nd at 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the board to change planning board meeting dates due to federal holidays. To the motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, who was that?
Oh, that
Who's
was
that?
John.
John?
That was John.
Yep.
Motion's been made to reschedule the planning board meetings to January 25 and February 22, 2021, due to the occurrence of the federal holiday. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And I will schedule a public hearing for this applicant for January 25 at 7:01.
I will make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the lawn care company on Route 9 for a public hearing for January 25th at 7:01 p.m.
Motion's been made for public hearing. To the motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it. It's Ann.
And seconds?
And second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We still have the applicant on. We will try not to pick on you too much further.
Dave, are you still there?
I
Okay, so, well, you and I will speak the first week in January and we'll work on revising your site plan. And it looks like you got one more meeting and we should be all set.
am. Okay, so the next meeting's the public hearing. It's a planning board meeting, but it's
Yeah.
a public hearing.
Yeah, it'll be just like this. It'll still be virtual, I'm quite certain.
Yeah, I imagine it will.
So any public attendance is virtual as well, just like you're doing right now, so.
Understood.
All right, so put down January 25th as the meeting night.
I got
And he's
you.
first on the agenda.
Yeah, and you'll be number one on the agenda again.
Sounds good to me.
All right, thanks for your cooperation. I'll talk to you after the new year.
All right, sounds good. Everybody have a happy holiday.
You too, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Next item I have on the agenda is Wade Smith, site plan review. We have an applicant.
Yes, we do.
Tell us the story.
Let's see. Anybody there from Bill Smith?
Yes,
You have
I'm
anybody?
here.
Hi, Bill,
Yes,
how are
I'm
you?
here. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
I believe that Mike Romeo will also be on.
Okay.
Let me text him and see if he got through, because he said he was listening. So he said he just chatted. Did anybody hear him?
Let me see if I can.
He's in the text box on the side.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got him. Yep, he should be able to talk now. Mike?
Can you hear me now, fellas?
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Bill, we have you still, right?
Yes.
Okay, we got both applicants then.
Monty's discount.
Before we get too far into this, Mr. Martin, I believe project has been subject to action of the zoning board of appeals. Can you update us on those findings?
Yeah, so the zoning board did approve this for a special use permit because it's subject to both, and they approved it with a 100-car limit on the amount of cars stored. And I think the site plan we have gotten does reflect that. And the other condition they had on it was for the planning board to determine if anything, any kind of beautification you wanted, along the corridor there. Those are the two basic conditions.
Okay,
And then we had some other comments that Bill's been responsive to. It was a indication of entry and exit point for the delivery truck delivering the automobiles, either being being brought for storage or being taken from the site. So that's shown. They have a loading and unloading area. They have reduced the number of cars or spaces for storage to 100 spaces as per the zoning board condition. The driveway through the site has been widened 15 feet and appears to be adequate. They do have the zoning line now indicated for the separation between the C1 and the R1 zone. They have provided a 20-foot buffer along that zoning district boundary. And they do have an indication where some, infrastructure or utility poles are. So I think that's everything we had on the list of items we wanted to have, included on the site plan. From the list of, from the last time this was looked at was in November.
This is Ann. I've got a couple of questions on the delineation of the parking spots. On the parking spots to the rear, there's one that looks like a double parking lot, which would be in excess of the 100. Is that meant to be something else? It's near the 15-foot wide access driveway.
Is it
Yeah,
the garage?
north end.
Is that a parking spot?
You know what? I have to, hang on a second.
The one at the north end of the back row, Ann?
Yeah.
If you can give me 2 minutes, I just, I'm gonna go up. I didn't realize I didn't have that paper. I have the other papers. Give me 1 moment, okay?
Okay.
I don't have a copy here either to look at, sorry.
Well, the other thing I should say is he added a series of notations for restrictions on the site. No exterior signage, no exterior lighting. Vehicle storage shall be limited to automobiles and light duty trucks. The number of vehicles to be stored on the lot is limited to 100 vehicles. The lot is to be resurfaced with a fresh layer of gravel. There shall be no salvage vehicles on the lot at any time. No retail sales of vehicles shall occur on the lot. And those are again consistent with the discussion we had in November.
Jim, I also noticed that there's no scale indicated on this.
Okay.
Mike, when I think I texted you a copy. If you go back through your text. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yep, yep,
Yeah, go back into your text.
I got it.
Oh, shoot.
I'm looking at it, Jim.
Okay.
Or Bill, I'm looking at it.
All right, I'm pulling it up now.
What did you say that, Ann, what were you asking about?
If you look at the corner, back corner of the lot where the 15-foot wide access driveway is, there's one slot that looks like two parking lots, but just not, or parking spaces.
Oh, you know what? It probably doesn't, if I count the spaces, it's probably 2 spaces. It just doesn't have the line through it.
So I don't think you're supposed to have that. I think that will give you access.
I agree, and without that, there's 100.
Yeah, so you'd want to delete this or delete 2 spots somewhere else.
Okay, so I'll take and delete 2 spots off to the right side to where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots there. I'll take 2 out of there.
Okay. And I was wondering what you plan to do with the 20-foot buffer. Are you going to put vegetation, trees, something like that?
It's already there. It's already vegetation, yeah, yeah.
Okay. What kind of vegetation?
It's just growth, saplings, nothing fancy, just what's there.
Okay.
Hey, this is Jerry. Quick question. The drawing that got delivered to us that has these notations on it, is all of this information getting put into the original site plan map that was prepared for the November
This is the
meeting?
new, Jerry, this is the new plan.
Okay, because the old map included, things like the adjacent landowners and all that. So I was just wondering, was this a layout that was going to get put into the old site plan. Because that has scale, that has, you know, a whole bunch of information on it that, you know, north arrow, things like that that we would want.
I can add arrows to show north, south, east, and west, if that's what you're asking.
Well,
This is Ann.
it's normally on a plan, but I was asking if we don't do anything yet. Just I'm asking if this was going to be put onto the old site plan map that
No,
Bill
because that
Rourke
was,
had done.
that was a site plan from Bill Rourke, and getting things from Bill Rourke, and sometimes if I had his CAD drawings, I could have done that, but we didn't. Bill Rourke's the one that did the last site plan.
Yep.
But we took exactly all the measurements off of his site plan, and we just put it on a CAD drawing for, you know, like that's what was asked for me to do, by the way.
Okay.
Am I not correct with that, Jim?
No, you're correct. Well, what we can do is we can make it so it's a 2-page set that we have. This is a base drawing that gives us the dimensions, and then there's a second page that's the actual site plan.
That's fine.
Because I understand.
You have a copy. You have a copy of that. There should be.
Yeah, I have both right here.
So then are you proposing we include the old map Bill Rourke had done to cover the information that we would normally include on a one single sheet?
Yeah, because his is the actual stamped survey with the scale and the dimensions on it and the north arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then what Bill provided was like a second page that speaks to the site plan conditions that we were discussing at the last meeting.
I can live with that.
Jim, this is Ann. I would think we still need to have scale on this, the second page here.
Sure.
Mike, I think you weren't on the last call, and we had some questions about how this operation was going to work, you know, with hours and what kind of traffic you were expecting, what kind of car haulers and the like. Could you kind of go over that briefly?
Yeah, the majority of the haulers that come in are 3-car haulers. So it's like a regular pickup truck with a trailer on the back of it. We do have occasional 8-car haulers that do come in and drop cars off and pick cars up. And as far as hours, it follows our business hours across the street, so we close at 7. Usually transporters are done at 5, and they start early. They'll be there at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
So 7:30 to 5 are good hours of operation for you?
Well, I wouldn't want to pigeonhole myself into that either. Like if I leave a set of keys over a car for somebody to come in after hours, then they come whenever they want to pick the car up, but for the most part, I'd say 95% of your traffic is going to be during those hours, correct?
And do you know how?
Again, 7:30?
Yeah, if you want to use 7:30 for transporters coming to pick, because a lot of times what'll happen is that they'll spend the night somewhere on the road and then get there as early as possible to get out of there.
Do you know how frequently you'd expect haulers to be coming in and out? In other words, what your volume is?
Yeah, numerous times a day. Probably, between 3 and 5 different haulers a day, I would say, show up.
You know, I've gone by there several times and seen them inside the parking lot, and they're not disturbing traffic or anything, they're right off the road. They're doing an excellent job, they're in there and they're gone, you know, they're in and out. And,
Yeah, there's no difference from the volume that we've had for years. We stored it, you know, out back by the bowling alley there in the far corner. And the reason we really wanted to get this lot is because they were having trouble getting in there. And a lot of times they would just stop in the middle of Route 9. And we had trouble with that. So this put an end to that, which was, you know, bad for traffic and unsafe. So it put an immediate end to that.
Yeah, there's been no traffic delays or anything that I've observed, so. I think
No, it's really smooth the way it's set up because there's those entrances in the, you know, I think it's 3 entrances in the front and they kind of just swoop in one side and then right out the other. And with the traffic light right there, it's not as unsafe as trying, you know, down by the bowling alley where there's no lights or anything. So it does help.
Yeah, I'm not looking to limit, or I'm sorry, and I'm not looking to limit the hours of operation. I just wanted to know what you thought you would be doing so that we can document it. So, you know, what you tell me is what I'm going to take as your input. So
Sure.
that's why I was just wondering what hours you'd like us to consider.
I would say hours of business then. So, you know, 8 to 7, if you want to just put, you know, if you want to document something.
That's fair. I'm just asking you what you'd like, so then we can consider it. So 8 to 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is Meredith. I was wondering, what do you do with cars that don't sell or don't move?
Every car that's put in that lot is sold already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just for overflow and transport.
Okay.
So you're not going to have vehicles in here that are ready for salvage, or you might consider hangar cleans?
Well, no, everything that's there is sold. So even the cars that are, you know, really cheap junk cars, that the salvage guy just comes and picks them up, and it would be treated no differently than an expensive car.
Gordon, further questions?
Just one last one, and I don't even, it doesn't sound like it's any sort of an issue. I would just wonder, should we notate on the map that there will be no parking of the haulers or unloading on Route 9? I don't expect there to be. You've got an unloading area, but, you know, just an acknowledgement that we won't be doing that.
We definitely should.
So no overnight parking there, is what you're saying, Jerry?
That, or I'd hate to see somebody, you know, for any reason, and I'm not, you know, parked out on the shoulder of Route 9 unloading a hauler.
It's fine with me if you guys want to put that, because it doesn't happen. And
Yep.
And if it does, it's really like on them. You know, they're the ones that would be doing something illegally. The hauler, it's not, our haulers would never do that we own. But you know, the guys don't really do it. It's more safe for them to be on our lot, to be in and out. So I've never seen it happen once since we've been there. So you're fine to notate it if you want.
I think it just covers everybody.
Okay, Gordon? Do you feel that you have enough information to move forward?
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Have we covered all the 3 concerns?
Yes, that covers all the outstanding items from November.
Okay.
Probably we should have a public hearing on this one too, as it's on Route 9. Maybe no one shows up and we've got a 2-minute high and we're done, but I think we should have one.
And does it matter that we've already sent out the notice the first time and we didn't have any responses, just to not have to go through that again, or?
That was a different board.
Okay.
I think we had, and I may be mistaken, but I think that we had this one as well, and there was no public, nobody said anything.
We didn't notice it yet.
Am I wrong in that, Jim?
Yeah, no, we haven't noticed, we haven't provided notice to the public yet, Bill, on this. We were still working out these items.
Was it the zoning board that you're speaking about?
Yeah, the zoning board did conduct a public hearing on this.
Yeah, nobody said anything during the zoning board. There was no public, no neighbors said, had anything to say. Nobody called in.
I think it's good common practice to have it, if we hold it, nobody shows up, we're good. If we don't hold it, and then we hear about it. So, if we could schedule one for 7:05, and what was the date, January?
Yep, so the 25th.
25th?
Is that a motion?
I'll make that a motion, sure. It's just good housekeeping.
Motion's been made.
I second it.
For this project at 7:05 on January 25. To the motion, do I have a second?
This is Ann, I will second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? This is really not too controversial. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. We updated drawing can be ready for the 25th.
Yep. Bill, I'll give you a call, Bill.
All right, Jim.
And I think this is.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Bill. Thank you.
You as well.
Hey, guys, just so I'm clear, how does this exactly work? So we're good to go here as long as we don't have any complaints, or what, how does the next step work?
It's, the board schedules a hearing, so we send notices out to people within 500 feet. Again, it'll be very similar to the zoning board. And we'll see if there's any comment. As I said with the last applicant, I expect the January meeting to be a virtual meeting as well. So anybody who wants to comment has to call in. So like I said, I don't expect it's going to be much different from the zoning board here.
Okay, and then you vote at that point, or you just voted now by doing that?
No, the final decision would likely come after the public hearing.
Okay, okay.
Hey, Jim, this is Ann.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the plan we got this for this meeting will be revised to show scale. And it would also be, I guess, state as conditions, the hours of operation of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and no parking on the, on Route 9. And I think it's clear there'd be no salvage.
Yeah, you've already got that about no salvage. You got to delete the 2 spaces there that was talked about, and also no overnight parking of hauling trucks. So I got 4 things to add, but I was going to call Bill about that and get it done in January.
Okay. So the next site plan we see will have those things on it.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it'll probably be the same site plan that you have, but just, I'm gonna add the north, right, the symbol of the north and those couple other,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure. All right.
Okay, board, anything further? If not, to about a fair play, Mr. Smith, do you have any questions of us?
I do not.
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank everybody and have a Merry Christmas again. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Next item I have on the agenda is Route 9 Auto World. Do we have one of those?
Yes, we have Mr. Vittengill and Let me see. Hey, Bob? Bob, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, do you know who you got from EDP? Is it Joe Danable?
It's Joe Danable, correct.
Okay. Joe, are you there? Joe?
Yes,
Joe? Yes, okay. We have Joe Danable from EDP and Bob Vittengill, who's the property owner.
Yeah, good evening. Joe Danable, Environmental Design Partnership, here on behalf of Route 9 Auto World, Inc. in our application for a 2-lot subdivision. As everyone's aware, it was presented a couple months ago now, concept plan. Properties located on Route 9, directly across or at the intersection of Route 9 and Reynolds Road. What we are proposing within the C1 district, contrary to the concept review we had at a 3-lot, we are looking to do a simple 2-lot subdivision. Both lots having frontage on Route 9. One lot would be the previous automotive dealership, and a second lot to the north and west of that would be for a future zoning compliant use. We are providing an easement for a potential future 60-foot right-of-way if further subdivisions are to occur on this property. Property would have on-site stormwater management, connection to public water, and connection to public sewer when available. We've provided the board with several different concept plans. Most of them we're showing 2 new lots along with the existing building. Again, as we had stated, we are now only proposing a lot subdivision, very similar road configuration to what was previously proposed. The bill provide direct onto Route 9 at the signalized intersection of Reynolds and Route 9. This would be the 4th leg of that intersection. We have submitted the plan to New York State DOT. We are awaiting responses from their office. This plan in general is going to be the start of cleaning up that intersection, providing better access management to Route 9, and ultimately, as these plans continue through a site review, once a tenant or a purchaser is identified for the property, this plan would be again in front of this board for site plan review at that point in time. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more details associated with the site plan as opposed to the simple 2-lot subdivision we are looking for. So with that, I'd ask if they have any questions. We'd be looking to set a public hearing for the subdivision at the January meeting, and hopefully obtain final approval at that point in time. Thank you.
Okay, regarding the past history on this application, we did last look at this in October. It was a 3-lot subdivision, I think as indicated on sheet 3 of 3. They have since, as indicated, reduced this down to a 2-lot. Technically speaking, this could qualify for a 2-lot subdivision by the zoning administrator, meaning me. But I was of the opinion that since it started with the board, it should finish. And then the other thing that takes it a little bit more beyond a 2-lot subdivision is this idea of accommodation of an access road at some point in the future. So DOT's in the mix, there's a signalized intersection there. I thought it was best to proceed on with the board's review of this and just let it work its way through the process rather than doing it as an administrative approval. So with those extenuating circumstances on this, I directed the applicant to continue with the review with the board for a 2-lot subdivision. I think the tricky part here is that The lots as shown, the two lots do qualify as conforming lots. And I do like that they did show the ability to accommodate a 60-foot wide easement here on lot 1 at some point in the future. And obviously, if that happens, then that boundary line is going to adjust to what is that southerly, if you will, line of that easement. So that lot will reduce in area, but even at that reduced size, it is a qualifying lot, meeting our standards in the zoning. So I think this is a good layout to this. It's accommodating future growth, both in terms of provision of a proper easement for a public right-of-way to come through here, and as well as potentially that third lot that was indicated, you know, in the prior sketch plan. So this has a lot of flexibility built into it and can accommodate those future scenarios.
Hey, Jim, when you say they're conforming lots, lot number 2, if I look at the road frontage, is 184 feet, and in a C1 zone, the minimum lot width is 200.
No, well, remember, lot width is measured at the building. So.
Okay.
We
don't know where the building is.
Yeah, and if they orient the building, so it's, you know, fronting on that easement, and a public right of way is through there, then that's a conforming lot. So until we have a building, we don't know about that yet.
Well, then if they're gonna go through that easement, if you're saying that's where the new road is going to be?
Correct.
So if we were subdivided, shouldn't they have to put that new road in, put that stub in? If we're gonna look at it that way, I believe so with the utilities and stuff.
That's
the
reason why we do the reviews, Mike.
To make it a conforming lot, I think that's
the point of discussion.
Sub the road in.
Well, I guess I would look at it and think if and again, I'm just looking at this from a numbers thing at this point. If the lot line was the smaller radius of that easement, then they would have the necessary lot width of 200 at the point of subdivision, right? It wouldn't matter where they put that building in the future. They don't have to come back and ask anybody for a variance. I'm just looking at it as something that could potentially be done to ease any additional burden on the applicant in the future.
Well, it could be shown that way, and then if and when the time comes for that road to be cut through there, the boundary would adjust back the other way to where it is now.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe that's not the right answer. I don't know. I'm looking at it, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't creating a
if I can
non-conforming
maybe
lot.
add something to this. We've got 184 on the lot 2 width. Right, we have 323.56 on lot 1. But then on the very front of the 60-foot easement on lot 1 is a 93-foot. Now, I'm not sure, is that the width of where that easement locates onto Route 9?
What that's showing is that's the width that has to be done in order to accommodate the radius, you know.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm guessing that the 184 measurement goes to the far northern edge of that 93 feet. Which means that if you go to the back edge of that radius, you're already at 200 feet.
That is correct.
I believe,
Okay.
looking at it quickly here, I don't have a scale measure here myself, but that's what it looks like to me. So I think we're already at 200 feet, what, maybe 16, well, probably less than 16 feet from the curb.
And the other thing is that if these lots.
You're right.
The building can go on the way back there where the lot widens out to, well, I don't know, 400 feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would also be a lot, so.
Yeah. But to John's point, the 184 plus the 16 radius gives you 200. So the math is there. So comment withdrawn. Thank you, John.
No problem. So while I had the floor, I have a question on it looks like we're setting up to put in a potential hammerhead on the back end of this proposed road for the future. on the west edge of that, I see a separate lot that's listed as 35 by 30. Is that to be owned by lot 1? Is that the idea of that? And then later conferred to lot 2?
That is just an easement. That is part of lot 2. If there's a need for a hammerhead, that'll ultimately be an easement lot 2 to allow for a hammerhead turnaround.
All right, so then that should be labeled as an easement?
Yep.
Because it appears, the way it's labeled, it appears like a separate lot. I don't see easement written anywhere on it. It just looks like it's a separate lot that's 30 by 35.
That's not a problem. We can certainly take care of that.
Okay, I mean, whether you do it with a dotted line and just write easement on it or whatever, I get what you're doing with it. It makes sense, but the way it's set up, it looks like a separate lot. It's got four sides to it. So.
Yep, not a problem. We can take that.
This is Ann. I have a couple of questions regarding the EAF. You report that there is a portion of the site designated as sensitive for archaeological purposes, and then there's also some hazmat. Can you explain where and what that is?
So a portion of the site is within a map identified by the state as being potential for archaeological sensitive. Something was found at some point in time in the study in I forget the radius, probably something like 500 or 1,000 feet of the site. So that is why that field auto-populated. Another field, the hazardous materials field, was likely auto-populated by the EAF mapper, which is done by the state. There's probably been remediation on gas stations, potentially across the street, possibly on this site or adjacent to this site. Nothing is triggered on the site itself. It's an adjacent site that is triggering that.
It may be a PCB remediation from the property to the west.
Okay. What is your,
Actually-
go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, Ann. I'm sorry.
So what is your timeline for development insofar as you are relying on the wastewater treatment to be coming through the public sewer?
It is not reliant on the sewer. We can certainly provide a septic system. Ultimately, septic system will limit the allowable area for the development. If we have a come through tomorrow that wants to buy this property, they will be submitting as possible for a site plan. If you know somebody ready to buy it, we'll sell it tomorrow.
So Ann, that led into a couple of the questions I had on the EAF. These may be left over from when this was proposed with 3 lots and you were showing buildings and things like that. If I understand, we have in front of us right now a simple lot subdivision into 2 lots. So section 11 on the EAF says, will the proposed action connect to existing wastewater? I'm pretty sure the subdivision of those 2 lots isn't going to connect to any wastewater, right? So maybe
Correct.
that one should be written in as non-applicable. And then there's another one here. It says, will the proposed site create stormwater discharge? I'm pretty sure dividing this one parcel into 2 isn't going to create stormwater either, right?
No, it will not. We ultimately look at the ultimate build out of the project, knowing that we are going to develop it. So certainly we can answer that question as no.
I mean,
want to be looking at segmenting and create a project that will create stormwater.
Right. And I mean, if you do sell it tomorrow, then that person's going to have to come in and do a site plan for their lot. At which time
Correct.
We'll deal with wastewater and stormwater and everything else with that anyways, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My question is, who's responsible for putting the road in? Is Is this because they're subdividing it, is this their responsibility?
No, what's being asked for right here is a simple subdivision.
Okay,
At the point of future development, you could even have these two lots developed, and it could be the responsibility of the entity to the back, the lands of CDSJ LLC.
mm-hmm,
That responsibility could fall to them, as long as or what we're doing right now is appropriately reserving the area for that access to occur. That could occur at a future date by one of the owners of these two lots or that lot owner in the back.
okay, so at least my question, do we need Paul Joseph's approval to know that there's gonna be a new road put through here before we accept these two lots?
It would be subject to the road dedication process of the town.
Okay,
It has to be built to a certain standard. Paul has to inspect it as it's being built. The town attorney gets involved for the deed descriptions and all that. And it goes through a regular process for road dedication to the town. The complicating factor here is the permit from DOT for that access onto Route 9.
okay,
Depending upon what that road is envisioned to be used for, DOT is going to be looking at that to see if there's any adjustments needed to that signal. So this could be, in my opinion, it could be quite an involved review with DOT over, how that road accesses their highway and does it impact their signal at all.
I just hate to have them say no when we say, okay, so these two lots.
Well, the basic thing to remember is these two lots could be made, the subdivision could occur, and everything would be fine.
Okay,
All right, you could have just simple driveways to these, whatever these end uses are, and that would be that.
okay,
But you could also have this idea, and I think it's a nice idea, for this road to come through and join in where it is. It makes for a four-way intersection there. And as we all know, the land in the back, to the north and west, is substantial. So there could be volumes of traffic coming through there.
okay, thank you.
And to add to Jim's comments on that, if you look at the map, I think it's the second page map, it gives you the existing situation on this property. If this were to be subdivided into two parcels, there's already curb cuts for both parcels. There's access to both of them from Route 9 if that road never goes in. But it is to the benefit of the people that own these two lots to have this road connect to that other parcel if that other parcel develops, because they become the access road to the other parcel. It's a lot more traffic. It's a benefit to DOT to not have traffic going in by Pioneer Truck into that property, instead coming in off of that intersection in that light. So I think it's actually very nice forward thinking, and it's good that it benefits the current landowner too, as far as marketing goes. To give that
I have a
consideration.
question, as I look for the applicant, as I look at this existing, are these existing buildings intended to be removed or remain?
If I heard the question, are you asking if the existing buildings are to be removed or remain?
Yeah, are the intention to keep the buildings or remove them?
The intention is certainly to keep the building on lot 1. Ultimately, I think the building on lot 2 would be removed and a new building would be constructed in its place.
Because for right now, we need to see where that subdivision line falls in relation to those two buildings, because we gotta make sure the setback requirements are met. I know it's only 15 feet for a side yard setback, but nonetheless, we need to make sure that line to those two existing buildings, exists in such a manner that we don't set up a non-conformity.
Jim, I think it's clear that the north building will not be even 15 feet from that line. In fact, it looks like the line might kind of take the end off the building. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the question we need to answer is, if that building is not to be removed, do we need to get a variance, or do we commit to remove that building in order to file the subdivision?
Correct. 'Cause right, you can't create a non-conforming situation with a new lot line.
And that is certainly something I will talk to Bob about conclusion on that.
If you remove the building, then it's a moot point, but if it remains, then, you know, we can't have that line, we can't have the setback set up so they don't work.
You know, similar to that, on sheet 2, there's in the northwest corner of what will be lot 2, there's a building remnant. What is that? Is that like an old foundation?
This is up on the, I'd say probably the southwestern portion of the site.
Yeah, yep. It just says building remnant, shows it as a rectangle. It looks like it's probably a foundation, but I just don't know what's back there. But that'll be close to a setback as well, but not that it's a building, I don't think, but.
Yeah, that one I believe would certainly fall outside of the setback. But we can verify exactly what that building is or what is remaining.
Yeah.
well, I'm going to say this, the old car wash building, by the looks of the map, is about 2 feet over the line. This, I don't think you get a variance to allow the building to be on the line or over the line. So if this subdivision were to move forward, I think that building would have to be raised. I think that would have to be part of the plan.
And I certainly believe that is what we intend to do.
Yeah,
certainly we're trying to get a 3-acre parcel for
right
a larger tenant. I guess the question is, does that building really need to be demolished before the subdivision goes through, or is it a something that can be done after the fact of site plan approval?
I mean, I think the site plan can basically list that building must be removed. I mean, it's kind of a given. It can't exist over the property line.
All I can tell you is you can't file this subdivision with the county and create that lot line with a non-conforming building on it. It's either the building's gotta be taken down before you do the filing, or you don't file.
Okay, we'll
Or
certainly
you
verify
move,
prior to the public hearing.
you know, or you move the lot line to the other side of the easement.
But then I think you're gonna have a problem with the other building.
Yes, because actually
Maybe.
there's a part of the other building that's in it too. It's okay because the easement hasn't been released, but there's a little display building that's actually close to it too.
Well, what is the separation distance between those, the wood frame building and the concrete building? With that northerly extension that comes off the concrete building, which was an old car room or old showroom for cars. What is the separation between those two buildings?
The showroom and the old car wash?
Yeah. I don't have a scale on it, so.
It's looking to probably about 60 feet.
Say again?
So
probably about 60 feet.
Because if you're.
Yeah, scales out about there.
If you were to strike that subdivision line right between these two buildings, you might be able to get 15 feet for each building.
Right,
And
that's
then
what
just leave-
possibly we put the division line in the center of the road. You know, let me confer with Bob a little more. We'll certainly answer, have an answer for that question prior to the next meeting.
Because Joe, I gotta tell you, it'll be.
A public road or a shared use road in the future by doing something now with the subdivision that could create an easement on two properties. So that's certainly something we've got to conclude here prior to the public hearing.
Well, my advice to you would be is if you don't want to get into demolition right now and then incur that cost, adjust the subdivision line so it can pass between these two buildings and provide the 15-foot side yard setback. And then in the future, if you want to adjust that boundary line to accommodate that 60-foot new road easement, that can be done. But for now, that would allow you to move forward with the subdivision and not have to worry about demolition and put off to the future where this line is actually going to have to be adjusted to accommodate a new road.
I like that idea.
So we're not gonna have the new road right away?
I don't think you ever were, Mike. You know, under this plan. That's gonna be at some point in the future.
Tim, this is Ann. Can I ask you just a quick technical question? The form says the preliminary plat requires all kinds of additional documentation, which would, I think, seem premature for this, like layout plans, construction plans,
Right.
and the like. So this is a 2-lot subdivision. We do not need to require that level of detail at this point.
That's up to you, and you as a board can require some of those things or none of them. You have the power to waive certain requirements of a subdivision application.
But it could be deferred to site plan.
Correct.
I think the lots
I mean,
there.
I think it's a great idea what they have here. I see what they're trying to do, you know, with that easement. I think it's a great idea. It's one that I support. But for now, given the physical makeup of that site, we can't have that subdivision line where it is shown. It's got to move.
Or the building has to go.
Or the building has to be demolished.
Or moved, if you wanted to lift it up and move it 15 feet.
Yep.
I really doubt that building is part of the long-term plan here anyways.
I suspect it is not, given what I've seen in the original 3-lot subdivision. You know, there's a, you know, again, I think it's a great idea. I give the owner a lot of credit for trying to provide an easement to access the lot in the rear. It's the right thing to do, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. But we just can't configure lots that don't meet the standards of the code.
And I guess my thing is I'd really rather see him leave that easement in. Just leave the lines right where they are. I think it's clean. I think it works. I think it's a really nice design. And then just deal with the building and deal with it. I mean, it's got to be dealt with anyways. But that's me, and I'm not the owner, and I'm not the one that's going to have to write the check to have it demolished. So I understand.
Right. Yeah.
I think Jim's I think Jim's solution is a good, elegant solution. Adjust the boundary line later. I'm comfortable with not showing, you know, a proposed building on either of the lots because, in my opinion, they're both large enough to handle anything that should be anything that's likely to go on there. There's plenty of room beyond the setbacks. It seems like, you know, again, we'll get a chance at site plan. We'll get a bite at the apple then. So, you know, and I'm pretty good with as presented. I think once they adjust the lot line.
So the idea then, Jim, is to run the lot line pretty much down the middle of that existing easement or the current proposed easement, and then just write right on it that there's a 30-foot easement on either side for the road?
What I think could happen is that we show a boundary line, a proposed boundary line between these, or creating these 2 lots that is compliant to the setback. So the buildings meet the setback and they don't have to be demolished or moved. But I think what should also be shown is a notation about this easement and the idea of a future road providing access to the rear. I don't think that should be lost simply for accommodation of this temporary boundary line that's gonna meet the setbacks. I think.
Okay, so Jim.
Draw the line for now like that, but then provide a notation on the plat that says the future intent is to adjust the boundary and provide a 60-foot easement for this access road for this property as well as the property to the rear.
Okay, so Jim, if you could just follow my thought here for a minute.
Yep.
What you're proposing is to move the lot line or the subdivision lot line to the middle of the existing proposed easement. And then down the road, we'll have a note that says down the road, we may move that lot line to allow for this 60-foot road easement.
Correct.
Okay, here's my concern with that is if they're trying to sell this second lot, this lot 2, and they sell lot 2 and the new owner says, yeah, I don't really want the road off the front of my lot. Okay, now if you look to I guess it would be the southwest end of that access easement. If you divide that easement in half, they no longer have 60 feet to access that CDSL or SJ LLC property.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess I'm asking that maybe we move that line to the middle so we can get around demolishing that building, but we have right on the plan that there's a 30-foot easement on either side of that line for that road.
Perfect.
The proposed easement where it is.
That's even better, John. That's a better solution.
I mean, that way the whoever buys lot 2 not only knows ahead of time, they don't have any argument for why they don't want to do it. It's already been put in there that it should be there.
Okay, well, I have one other comment, John, because while I agree with what you've done, what we need to do too is, as presented, we have the lots 1 and 2 both include front setbacks along this proposed paper street.
Right.
That for now, that's a side setback.
Correct.
Because these lots front on Route 9, that street doesn't exist, so that should be changed to be a side setback 15 feet.
Correct.
Right.
In the future,
Absolutely.
if you want to show that there's a buffer that if the road goes in, you'd need to be 60 feet back from it. That could be another line that was on there, but for now, those are side setbacks.
Yeah, that's true, Jerry. Very much so.
Yep, that's correct. You following all that, Joe?
Yeah, I've got all that. I have no problem with the lot line being the center line of the future road, providing the 30-foot easement, and even providing a restriction on the front of the property within that future front yard setback. If needed, if that becomes a future road, nothing can be built within there, or it needs to adhere to the building setbacks as if it was a front. We got no problem doing that, and we would certainly revise the plans to reflect that.
All right. And if you show the easement on the plat like that, and those easements are written into each of the corresponding deeds to those lots, that'll be a strong indication that at some point in the future, the idea is to have this access road.
Yes, I agree with that.
But it needs to be a notation on the plat and an easement written into each deed.
Was that a question? I thought that was just a statement.
That was a statement.
Yeah, I think
Did he just go mute?
Pardon?
Did he just go mute?
No, I think is there any, I don't know if there's any other comments on this or not.
Or did he run?
Nothing here.
Nothing from me.
Article is always fair play. Applicant, do you have any questions of the board? Hearing none, thank you for your interest in the town. Happiest of holidays.
I don't know what, I mean, are we gonna have a revised plat then on the next submission?
Do we need to revise it?
I mean, the other thing that's been discussed, I think, I understand your point, Joe, about the archaeology, but once that happens, I don't know of any other way around that short of a phase 1A.
The notation is in it.
Joe?
Because there is no ground disturbance associated with this subdivision, the ground disturbance is going to come into the site plan review, and if that's what time the archaeological investigation should be.
That's a good comeback.
He wants to do, he's saying he wants to do the archaeology at the time of site plan review.
Yes.
I mean, archaeology is never hindered to develop a site. It's just the level of study and excavation and artifact removal, if any, that needs to occur associated with that approval and that construction.
That's true.
And to be honest with you, the notations are already on the application. So if somebody does buy this lot, they're already aware that it shows up on that mapper.
Yeah, I think as long as we have a notation to that effect on the plat for now, I think that'll be sufficient.
Yeah.
That'll be a red flag for site plan review.
Yep.
So do you think you'll be ready for January?
Absolutely. It's minor revisions, and we'd certainly like to come back for a public hearing and get this wrapped up in January.
So are you requesting a public hearing for January?
If a
Yeah.
public hearing is for the project, yes, we are requesting a public hearing.
Gordon,
Make a motion to schedule a public hearing for this project, the Route 9 Auto World on Route 9 for January, is it January 21st? No,
25th.
25th, January 25th at 7:15.
good plan.
And remember, Joe, we need to see a sign up on the site. Also notifying about the public hearing at least 10 days in advance.
Yep, we'll coordinate all that with the town at 10 days prior to advance. So after the new year, we'll get that all coordinated with the town.
Okay.
This is Ann. Do we also need to do the seeker determination tonight?
We're technically supposed to do that now in advance of the public hearing.
Yes. So for a little bit wash here, we have a motion on the floor for the public hearing, 15 January, whatever that date is, 25. So to that motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? It's not really too controversial. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Now we need to decide whether we're going to do the secret.
I gotta do a part 2.
Do you need to?
Part 2.
Do I have a word opinion for the title seeker?
Make, assume lead agency status for seeker.
Well, if it's a type 2 action, we don't need a weekdays.
All right, you can stop.
Mr. Martin buzzed out here in a hurry looking for something, so I'm asking him to fiddle our fingers until he gets back and find out what his concern is. This silence is deafening, is it not? Are we going to consider?
That's what happens when you give me a mute button, Pete.
Going to consider this a type 2 action under seeker?
You could. I think it meets the definition.
Okay. Do we have a motion? I guess not.
Well, a motion for what, Pete? I'm sorry, it broke up a little at my end.
The termination as to a unlisted or type 2 action. Does this qualify for a type 2? I think it does, but.
I have a motion to declare the environmental assessment for Route 9 Auto World as a type 2 action.
I'll make that motion. This is Meredith.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to declare environmental assessment for Route 9 Auto World as a type 2 action. I don't think that's too controversial. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Bonus, third place. Applicant, do you have any further questions of the board? If not, thank you, and we wish you the happiest of holidays, and above all, be safe.
Okay, so next up is Saron Builders for Kobe. Yep,
We have one of those.
yes, we do. We have Anthony Saron and Gianni Simone on from Saron Builders, and we have Travis.
Joe Danable is presenting this one as well.
Okay, Joe. We have Joe on from EDP, and we have Anthony Saron, Gianni, and Steve Saron from Saron Builders. Guys, you all there?
Yes, good evening, gentlemen and ladies.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Meredith, before we start, I do need to disclose that I have a personal relationship with the Saron family. I have no financial accounts in this, but we are friends.
Okay.
Okay, Tom, sorry.
Okay, just to ask before we get going, I have a PowerPoint presentation. Is there any manner in which this presentation can be shown to the board by sharing co-hosting capabilities?
Everybody's got the site plan, Joe.
Okay.
The other, I understand this was split, and this is something for the board to consider too, but I think it would be best that this review to occur, for both the north and the south. But I don't know how the board feels.
certainly, I can present what I have, and everyone does have the site plans in front of them.
Yeah, everybody's been provided a hard copy of both the north and the south plan.
Okay, and then I'll also ask, these are separate tax parcels, two separate projects. Obviously, there's a lot of connection between the two of them. I will present them both individually, but we certainly can talk about them as a whole, if that's okay with the board. Okay, so good evening, Joe Danable with the Environmental Design Partnership here on behalf of Cerrone Builders and their application for two subdivisions known as Jacoby Farms North and Jacoby Farms South. The project's located on the east side of Gansevoort Road along Lennox Boulevard or Rec Road, leading, that's the road that leads to the Harry Vitar Recreation Park. The properties themselves are located along the north side and the south side of the access road. We are looking at both parcels within the, R2 residential district. The north side of the, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble with my fingers here. Wrong man. North side of the road's got a total of about 14.75 acres. The south side of the road is about 14.5 acres. Individually looking at them as we break down the density computation based upon access to public water and individual septic systems with a minimum lot area of 22,500 square feet. We have an allowable density on the north side of the road of 27 lots and an allowable density on the south side of the road of 27 lots as well. What we are proposing to do under the cluster provisions of the town of Moreau is propose two cluster subdivisions, one for 27 lots on the north side of the road and one for 26 lots on the south side of the road. On the north side of the road, we're proposing to create one-way access roads coming off of Rec Road so that no individual curb cuts for single-family houses are located along the entrance road. And we create a park-like setting by having these combined curb cuts leading to these public roads for each individual lot. Within the center green area of these curb cuts, these outcrows, there will be green space that will be maintained by the homeowners association or by the residents of the community. What we have is 3 pods or clusters on the north road, totaling 27 single-family lots. Providing street trees, open space, and community gathering areas in those areas. We're also providing and dedicating the town about a quarter acre of land at the park entrance on the north and a quarter acre on the south side of the road that will be dedicated to the town of Moreau so that monument signs can be erected by the town and landscape we put in that area to create a entrance, a formal entrance to the park at the end of this access, at the end of this subdivision. South side of the road. Similar to the north side of the road, we're creating 3 individual pods. 2 of them, the first 2 as you enter, going from the left to right or the west to the east. Single one-way access roads that we're working on with the highway department. Large community open space areas within the center green portions of these lots. The third pod is going to have a boulevard road that will provide access, a future access to the undeveloped lands on the south side of the property. Along the south side of the property, from the first new public road to the park, we're providing an asphalt pathway. Between the pathway and the edge of the road, we're proposing a series of street trees. Again, it's our intent to limit curb cuts from individual households directly onto Rec Road, and provide park-like settings with large expanses of green areas in the front of every lot. Overall, the subdivision between the two, the north and the south, is 27 on the north, 26 on the south, so 53 new single-family lots. On-site stormwater management, municipal connection to water, and individual system absorption fields on every lot. That is generally what we're looking at. We're here for sketch plan review of the cluster subdivision, and we're here to address any comments or questions the planning board may have, and then we would be proceeding to the detailed engineering of each individual project. Thank you.
Board, we heard the summary of the proposal. Do you have any questions on that at this time?
I have a few.
Go for it.
So for starters, under the application, and I thought we were going to be reviewing these as two separate
We can,
subdivisions.
we can.
Okay, but it turns up in both of them anyways. So page 3 gets really messy on both of them. So page 3 on the application says that the typical dimensions of the lots will be 75 feet by 150, which results in an average lot area of about 12,000 square feet. It's a little less than that. Okay. But then down below under smallest lot, it lists 0.34 square feet. And I'm assuming that's supposed to be 0.34 acres as the smallest lot, but 12,000 square feet is less than 0.34 acres. So I guess I'm trying to see if maybe before this comes back in front of us, if the numbers in the application be cleaned up a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that. Certainly what we are proposing when we provide the bulk standards is the minimum lot areas, the minimum front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, lot width, lot depth. Those are the minimums. When we actually drew the subdivision, the smallest lot, not the minimum size lot, the smallest lot, actually the 0.34 acres at that juncture. So
Okay.
again, what we have on the plans is minimums, not necessarily the smallest lot we are proposing.
Okay. So since we're dealing with these two together, when I looked at the southern one, because that's what came first in our packet, I noticed that there was a portion of land on the west end of the Jacoby property of about 2 acres that wasn't included in the south one. And then when I got to the north subdivision plan, I noticed that the houses or the acreage didn't match. And from what I can tell, you've somehow taken that 2 acres and included it with the north side on the other side of the road.
Yes, that's what we're looking to do there. So on the north side of the road, we are proposing the 27 lots, trying to come up with the optimal layout for both of these parcels, putting 27 on the north side and 26 on the south side. Seemed to lay out the best, the most attractive layout in the master plan of these two parcels. In order for us to meet the density requirement to have 27 lots on the north side of the road, we needed to acquire additional land. We took that from the south side of the road to be able to increase the density on the north side of the road.
Okay, so, but bear with me on this. Are these two projects or subdivisions, are they proposed separately from each other? These are two
Yes,
separate subdivisions that we're looking at here.
Yes, they are.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I'm asking this is it's not usually, as far as I know, our policy to let a developer pick up land somewhere else, non-contiguous or adjacent to their development, and use that against their density calculations in proposing their development or their subdivision. If these are two separate tax maps and two separate projects, then basically what we're doing is allowing you to add 2 acres from somewhere else to the north one for no other purpose than to increase your number of houses on the north side of the road. Is that accurate?
I'd say I'd add to that in that we are increasing the density by 2 lots on the north side of the road to get us to the 27. However, looking at the overall plan picture of this community, the optimal layout and the most official layout for this community as a whole would be to have the 27 on the north and reduce it on the south. We could certainly add 2 more lots to the south side of the road and reduce those lots on the north side of the road. We just don't then end up with aligned curb cuts on Rec Road. And if that is the layout we want to move forward with, we can make that happen, or we can do some lot line adjustments and land transfers prior to the application if that was a more appropriate method.
Well, no, I don't think that's where I was going with it. Okay. And I don't pretend to know why this is being done as 2 separate subdivisions. But if this was all one subdivision, this would be a moot point. I mean, basically you're fitting in as a total with the 2 subdivisions. If you were to fold them back together, you are fitting in with the density. All right, as it is. So I guess I don't understand why, but it's not my business to understand why. What I am doing is looking forward. So if we have 2 years from now, a developer that would like to put more houses on the site that he has, but he can't because of density issues, we're saying it's okay for you to pick up a property that's not attached to your subdivision, all right, in any way, and add that in and count it on the same tax map, and therefore count it towards the density. And that, to me, that's a very dangerous thing for us to allow to move forward. So.
Really?
Then an oops or an opinion, I don't know, but I guess that's where I'm at. I don't know if there's some business reason for you to divide these up into 2 separate proposals, but if that's the case, then I like the layout. I'm not saying I don't like what you've done, and I personally think your density is good as a single development. But if you're going to split it into 2, one on one side, one on the other, then I'm a little uncomfortable with you taking some of the land from the south one and just including it with the north one to get a density change.
Yeah, the main purpose is ultimately, we looked at this project as a whole, talking with the Cerrones. The intent was going to be to develop the north side first and the south side second. If you will, a phase 1 and phase 2 of the project. They don't want to go in and build all the roads right up front. They only want to build a portion of it. We looked at it. We had different tax parcels. We said, hey, let's just, rather than doing this as a phased project, an overall phased project, let's just do this as a subdivision on the north side of the road, get that approved, done, move forward with that, and continue to pursue approvals on the south side of the road as a separate application. Therefore, you're not funding 2 projects at once. You're funding one, you get some revenue from the first project to help fund the second subdivision. That's doing. When we came to the layout, the numbers of lots on both sides of the road didn't match the intent of what we wanted to do. So we were trying to work with the land, come up with a creative way to give the most optimum layout for the road and still achieving the benefit that the owners are looking for.
I guess, Joe, from my standpoint, I can appreciate all that. And first of all, I think you've had a very creative design here. I've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been people in my office with probably a half a dozen plans for this property. And this is the most creative I've seen. So I give you a lot of credit, for the layout here with the use of these you know, one-way, like eyebrow roads, if you will, and that kind of thing, I think it's great. But I gotta say, I don't know why this is simply not a conventional 154 lot subdivision in 2 phases. I don't know, because there's things that just make it hard to review. I mean, one of my questions is, how do these road alignments occur among these 2 north and south subdivisions? Do these one-way access ways to the rec road, do they align with one another, you know, throughout, you know, this roadway here? It's hard to see. I don't know, I just think you're making it more complicated doing it as 2 subdivisions and seeking 2 approvals, just to get 154 lot subdivision clustered and phased.
I agree with Jim. And I think seeker-wise, it's treading a fine line on
Right.
17. And there's no environmental impact. So, you know, there's no wetland, there's no species, there's nothing we're contending with environmentally. So I think it's cleaner if we just keep it as 1.
And that's something we can certainly go with. However, one of the figures that I had provided in my, which unfortunately the way we're set up right now I can't show you, is did take the layouts and combine them in one overall master plan to show where the roads aligned, so that did align the roads on the north and the south for the horseshoes and the green areas. The boulevard, cul-de-sacs of the north. And again, that's why the layout itself it lends itself to 27 on the north and 26 on the south side of the road.
And then the other thing I think that needs to be shown here, so we don't lose this in the mix, and this oftentimes happens with clustered subdivisions. You know, we don't have a 27 lot subdivision here, we have a 28 lot subdivision because there's gonna be 1 lot for the HOA. And that is gonna be a tax map number, and so I think we need to count that as a lot. So whatever lot is gonna eventually be a HOA lot, we need to show those as individual lots for the HOA.
And all right, so going back to the portion of the south side that's been set aside to allow for density on the north side, we've now created this orphan lot on the south side. I mean, it's basically a homeowner association by people that aren't even connected to that property. All right, it's just gonna sit there. It's banked, I guess you could call it. And I don't mind if it was directly across the road even from this northern subdivision, but it's not, it's up the road. There's no way that anybody could discern that this is connected if we do this as 2 separate subdivisions. And I'm just really uncomfortable with the idea that somebody could down the road buy 2 separate parcels. Okay, one that's not developable really, the other one that is, and then say they're all 1 tax map and hey, we're just gonna, you know, use the density from the combined total. It's just really uncomfortable. I know that's not what's going on here. That's why I really like to see this put back together as 1 development. And if we do 1 development with 2 phases, fine. All right.
So I understand, Joe, that 2.01 acres that John's referring to, you're using the density off of that, correct?
Can you broke out there at the end?
You're using the density off of that 2.01 acres into the other side of the road here, so to speak, in this Toby North, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with John. I think that lends it more to wanting to be 1 subdivision in 2 phases. Because I don't want it to be lost in the future. If that's a separate lot and you're using the density off it, which is fine under the clustering provision, and that's gonna be an HOA lot, it's gotta be very clear that there's nothing ever gonna be built in that area of this subdivision then, because there's no density left to do it.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be a vacant portion of this land forever.
I certainly hear what the board, seems like we got a couple options here. We either combine the one, or the allowable density, individual tax map parcels on the north, south. Those are really our two options. We don't want to concern that we set a precedent with transferring development rights from one parcel to another.
Well, we can't because we have no mechanism to do that. So it's not allowed in the law.
Okay.
I have a separate comment. My comment is the boulevard style road.
Yep.
And the location of it. I understand the purpose which you stated, which was to provide access, future access to lands to the south. That's admirable, and I understand forward thinking. My problem is if we have that boulevard and that access road there, people have to come all the way down the Rec Park Road, which I would like to think, since you put in some trails and all that, there's going to be a lot of kids. There's going to be traffic, foot traffic, bike traffic in there. I would personally think it would be better if we could move that access or proposed access into that land closer to Route 32, rather than dragging all that traffic down to near the gate of the rec park.
So one of the reasons that boulevard was, we're trying to mirror the curb cuts on both sides of that road, both north and the south. We moved that road all the way to the west. We are now creating a situation where we do not align cuts on the north and south side of the road. And then I think that in order to create this rec road and this park-like entrance, either combining these curb cuts and providing streetscapes that we're proposing certainly is important. Now, this 2.0 acres that we're talking about, that southern of that 2-acre parcel does not align with the largest tracts of undeveloped land on the south side of the road south of this project. So if we provided access there, we're essentially providing access to a lot that fronts on Gansevoort Road, the larger land immediately south of the South Park.
Okay, well, I don't think, I mean, I'll take it your word on that. It would be helpful to see where those lines are for those adjacent properties then, to help your case.
Just to that, the lot line, the large tract and on the south side, align with the proposed lot line we put in there to take that 2.0 acres and add it to the north.
So the phantom line that I see on the south subdivision map, I see, I guess it's on both. There's a phantom line at the southeast corner of that 2.01 acre lot?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sure, I mean, you guys do this. This is your expertise. I'm just making the comment that if there was some creative way to reduce the amount of traffic that was going all the way through this subdivision in order to get to another subdivision in the future, which is undoubtedly a large tract of land and would have a potentially large number of houses in it, I would think for the purpose of what you're trying to do, it would be, in my opinion, better to reduce the amount of traffic that got all the way through your proposed subdivision. But just a comment.
Thank you.
Board, anything further?
Has anyone talked to the highway guy? Does he like the 16 wide roads?
Yeah, Paul's seen this preliminarily. I mean, we got to continue our dialogue, but I think he's fine with it.
And the one-way roads he's fine with?
Yep.
And the there's enough room for all the utilities there being out of the roadway?
Yes.
Or are they gonna put the utilities in the roadway?
No, the utilities, as I understand, are gonna be off to the side.
Okay.
Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing the people in the town hall. The utilities would be on the side of the road, particularly the water, and then the water would follow the loops that we're creating, these one-way loops.
Okay, and have we talked with Jesse about the impact of the water? We're okay with that?
Yeah, there's a, how many inch line in, Route 32?
8 inch.
There's plenty of water there. We've already, they've had preliminary meetings with both Joe and, Paul and Jesse.
Any plans of interconnections in our rural rec park? Because there are, there's some water in there and continue that loop system there, and it's a Jesse thing, but maybe we get some more water from Water Park or something like that. Has there been any?
That has been the intent. Joe, any response to the water?
So we have had several conversations with the water department. There is stations, certainly we're anticipating bringing the water from Ganswort and running through the park. There's conversations and negotiations about potentially extending this water main park, looping the system, increase pressure. A better system overall. So one of the, and that's really about as far as we are in those, providing water to the subdivision section, to the park, running enough through the park is up, certainly a significant additional cost to the developer section. But it is discussed with the water department.
Okay, thank you. And how about the transportation department and the schools? Are they okay with these smaller one-way roads? Picking kids up, dropping kids off, because there is none in the town now. And I don't think they can win to a lot of these roads. Where you're going to have kids walking out of the main roads. I think that's an avenue that needs to be explored with the school transportation department. And plus the impact on our schools, they're talking about combining here, we're looking at, 50 houses, are we going to throw another 100 kids into our school?
We historically notify the school system with a copy of all of these drawings at the secret review time. So to give them an opportunity for their input prior to the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
We always include that.
Yeah, I think a phone call to the transportation end of this thing with the one-way roads to see if we're gonna have to build like bus stops for these kids on the rec road, or are they gonna go into those roads? I think that would be probably a good conversation piece for this, for the safety of the children. And being that it's gonna be on a rec road and those kind of things.
Yeah, Mike, you make a good point. I'm picturing the bus coming in down Rec Road, and how does it get back out? It's probably got to go up into that cul-de-sac, and so it's, that's a good discussion.
And then being a dead end road going into the rec, and I'm not sure that'll happen. Again, that's a Department of Transportation thing at the school. So I think that's all important things that we try to do here in our community. So let's take a look at that, okay?
Yeah, so we will certainly, work with the school on this. One of the things I like to point out, one of the great things about this layout and these greens within the eyebrows, walk from their home to Rec Road, you're only about 150 feet, 200 at its furthest location. But these center green areas were intentionally set up so that every home on the outside of that loop see that center green, as well as the connections to Rec. So there's always the ability to have supervisions on students walking to the road and be waiting for pickup if it is decided that it needs to occur on Rec Road. Also, these is are envisioned, this is where the children, you're gonna go and football around and have play games with one another. It's kind of a urban suburban design, if you will, in which all of the homeowners have eyes out the street to be able to provide a safer environment for the children of that community.
I think in many, many ways is a superior design over some I've seen. The other thing this is maybe a little early for this, Joe, but I would anticipate it. What we're finding more and more with these larger subdivisions is that the postmaster is not approving individual mailboxes anymore for individual homes. They're increasingly requiring that centralized mail pickup locations and drop-off locations be provided. So there are off-site mailboxes in a group, so to speak. And I can anticipate that happening here, and you should have that discussion with the postmaster as to where that facility is going to be located, given this design. Because I can tell you right now, I doubt very much it's going to be individual mailboxes for these houses anymore.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's generally the trend I'm seeing with all residential.
You got plenty of space for it here, and you can work it into a nice community spot or centralized spot for each of these eyebrows. But I would anticipate that happening as this gets more and more detailed.
Yep, certainly great point. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
At the same time.
So this is Ann. I've got a quick question about what is to be maintained and owned by an HOA. Sometimes it's clearly marked, but then there's some areas behind the lots, odd shaped areas that don't have any designation. Is it contemplated they also would be HOA owned and operated along with the stormwater management ponds?
I don't think that's the case here, Ann. I think they're doing like a hybrid here. There's going to be some areas that are conventionally owned by an HOA and maintained, meaning these center areas of these eyebrows. But the rear portions of these lots, what I glean off of this notation is that these are going to be privately owned with like lot 9, for example, on Jacoby Farm South. You see lot 9 there in Jacoby Farm South?
Yeah.
That rear area of that lot is going to be owned by that lot owner, but that lot owner is going to be restricted from any kind of cutting activity in that portion of the lots.
Okay, I understand. But the roadways, would they be HOA owned?
No, I think the roadways are going to be town owned. And that was my point earlier. So we're going to have a reduced one-way right-of-way here that's going to be town owned, but that center area is going to be owned by the HOA. So all those center areas become individual lots.
The stormwater would
Right.
be HOA?
Yeah, as we're looking at, those center green areas, and that's something we're gonna have to work out with the town and the highway department. I've seen through hold harmless clauses where that center green area is actually owned by the town. However, it is maintained by an HOA entity because it's in the right of way. I've also seen where it's subdivided out and given to the HOA. So that's just something we're going to have to work on with the highway department and legal counsel for the town and the applicants to determine the most appropriate way and what everyone's most comfortable with moving that forward. Again, the intent is to have that as a nice landscaped area, lawn area, a recreation and attractive area that basically creates an extension and an expansion of the park.
And the
I
stormwater
think in that
management.
regard, Joe, the preference is going to be for that to be HOA, not highway land.
Okay, and the stormwater management?
The stormwater management will be HOA.
Okay. And I guess this is more of an observation than a question. We've got a number of subdivisions now, including this one. which will introduce a substantial number of new dwelling units in this neighborhood. Is there any precedent for doing more of a neighborhood type of traffic study that takes into account what we have on the table now, as opposed to individual projects?
So all traffic studies, when they're being completed, take into account adjacent projects that are pending or approved or under review. While a complete traffic study is not done, as each individual developer has the right to hire their own traffic engineer, all the traffic engineers looking at these projects do take a comprehensive look at all of the additional trips coming into the area.
Yeah, I've seen some that have not done that, so that's why I ask. Jim, is that your understanding as well, that with regard to, let's say, these other subdivisions that we're even going to be looking at this evening, that the traffic studies will take into account the others' projects?
Yeah, it is true that they should. Sometimes they don't, but they should. And I think we've been pretty diligent recently about making sure that that's the case, that there is that background growth is looked at. I mean, I've even been called by the traffic engineers wanting to know a list of pending projects in the town so they have an understanding. So I think that does happen. However, and this was going to be my recommendation when we do the staff notes on this subdivision as well as the one following here this evening, I think we have a very unique circumstance here where we have two major subdivisions that are at least major for us that are coming down the, no pun intended, coming down the pike here at the same time, and virtually across the street from one another. And I think we also have a unique opportunity here where we have the same consultant, land planning firm is doing the designs for both. I think it would be worth exploring if the two landowners involved would be interested in jointly funding one traffic study to look at both of these and get a comprehensive view. Because between the two of them here, we've got some, what, 140 lots approximately in that ballpark. So
that's right.
It would be a worthwhile question to pose to this applicant as well as the one that's going to follow here. Would there be any interest in sharing that cost rather than funding two individual traffic studies that are going to have to go through that cumbersome process of trying to factor in growth rates of other projects? It would be cleaner and neater to do one jointly funded study here that looks at all of this at once.
So that is certainly something we can consider. I've got to look into a little more detail, the subdivision on the land just to the north of us. I know we are working on that. However, I believe a traffic study was done and approved by the town of Monroe at the time when the original subdivision was approved. And so I'm not sure that
we would look to have that updated.
What's that?
I said we would look to have that updated.
Looking to have that updated. Okay.
Because
I'll work
that was done a number of years ago.
You know, I will certainly have discussions with those advocates and see what we can do to make that happen.
You know, it might even be cheaper for each respective applicant if they had a cost sharing here and one study is done at one time. It might even lower the cost.
Certainly, we will have that discussion. Good comment.
Is there any street lighting planned or anything like that in these subdivisions?
It has been preliminarily discussed with the applicant. I think we're a little early here at sketch plan, but the applicant is aware that the town did express an interest in having the recreation road here street lights provided on one side.
Yeah, so we have not proposed any at this time. Again, this kind of goes back where we're looking in, we're negotiating 1,000 linear feet of water line extension, which doesn't come at a low cost threshold. So we got to look at the budgeting for the overall project. And I know there's been a lot of discussions about details on updating Rec Road, providing curbing, providing sidewalks, pathways, providing various amenities along that road and throwing in the water. So the town's got a very big wish list of everything they want to see on this project, and the applicants are looking through and they think they're all good ideas, but certainly there's a cost associated with every one of them. So we have to go through and figure out which ones are definitely going to be the most beneficial to the town by meeting with them, and the ones that'll also develop the community assets that we are looking to do. I would agree that community lighting associated with the community is a benefit to the community, but also to the town. So again, I think that's just a detail we're gonna have to work out with the negotiations and all the other wants and desires the town has for this project.
Fair enough. I'm just curious if it had come up, that's all. But thank you for the explanation.
It did come up.
Any idea where you're gonna plan on looking to the sewer or anything, or is it gonna be all septic?
We're proposing septic systems. I don't believe there's any near future finalization of a sewer in proximity to the project.
We're gonna have perk tests then on the next, as we get more details here for both the septic systems and the stormwater, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Lot more details got to go into this.
Yep.
We're really just trying to look at the layout right now and make sure the board is good with the layout and as it's being proposed, so we can then go and do all the additional studies that are obviously a lot more money than the sketch plan we put together at this time.
I think the major takeaway from tonight is we'd like to see what I'm hearing is the idea of joining this into one application with two phases.
Absolutely.
Yep, and we certainly hear that, and we will we'll figure out if that's the direction we can take it.
But from the standpoint of a staff person, I think the design is great. It's one of the more creative approaches I've seen, and I give you a lot of credit. There's a lot of positives out of this design. I certainly like the limits of curb cuts on Recreation Road. That in itself is a big plus.
Yeah, the applicant, the Cerrones, want to build a wonderful community that's going to be great for future landowners as well as the town.
Anything further? Well, thank you for your interest in the town. And we look forward to working with you as this project progresses.
So I think what we're hearing is a favorable view of a preliminary application. But if we could see this as one application for 54 lots, that would be join the north and south together as one application, and then you can phase this however you see fit.
Nope, that's definitely heard. Thank you. I appreciate the board's time. If that's it, and have a great holiday.
You as well. Thank you, Joe.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Next, I have the decision plans of SRHTJ LLC. We have one of those.
I think we do. Travis, are you there? Or are you awake? Travis? Travis?
You muted us.
Let's see. Travis? Can you hear me?
He's chatting in that you can't see or you can't hear him. So he's on the phone.
I don't know why it's not working. Everybody else is. I think he's gonna try to.
Just Travis on with both of them.
No, I didn't see his message.
He says he's on his cell. If you can unmute that. And he gave the number 518-347-7139.
I don't see that on my participant list.
It's actually shown on the panel.
Yeah, he's showing on.
He's in an attendee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see him as an attendee and I see his name there, but I don't see any other phone number.
Well, can we go to Arrowhead and go back to Oslo?
Why is that?
Hanging up and calling back in.
Okay. I see his chat now.
That proves one thing.
Okay, Travis, are you there now? Because I've unmuted the phone number too. I see the phone number here now. Travis? I don't know why he's having a problem. I see his phone number.
They try calling or anything?
Cell phone if I have to. Travis, you there?
All right, how about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, boy. Whew. What a relief. Technology. All right, sorry about that.
Well, approved, relying on computers to control. Tell us this hard.
All right, and Jim, there's no good way to share a screen, right?
Not really, no. Like, as I explained to your other colleague there, everybody's got hard copies, both your submissions.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll obviously go forward with this. So the one we're discussing first is the SRH TJM subdivision. It's a 23.5 acre parcel. That's the one with frontage on Gansford Road. This is split zoning on this piece. It's partially in the R1, partially in the R2. The underlying zoning, when you run through the calculations on this particular parcel, runs out to be just over 42 lots. We're proposing 40. And you recall we were there a couple months ago to split this up into these two different applications. Had we known a few months ago where we are today and the demand for these, maybe we would have left them together, but as it is, they are split at this point, and we are moving forward on two different applications. This is something that Rich Skirmerhorn and I have owned for the last 10 years. We got this approved in 2010, and it just hasn't moved anywhere. So we made the decision to split these, and now we're moving them. Obviously, you can see you've got two applications. We're moving them both forward, as it turns out. I had a couple of graphics here to show you how everything works together, but I think that at least in that plan set that you've got in the SRH TJM, you can see one of those overall sheets that shows how they're connected together. As I mentioned, I think John correctly pointed out, he was the only member on the board back then, but this was approved in 2010. It follows a very similar layout, keeping open spaces behind the lots and a similar road configuration overall. There would be a homeowners association that own the stormwater and own the common lands in and throughout the subdivision. We did. I obviously I couldn't say anything because you couldn't hear me, but I did overhear the discussion on the traffic study. When this was done 10 years ago, we did have a study completed, and over the last 10 years, as we've worked on other projects, we've carried the 84 total lots on these two projects forward and carried them through in all the other studies. That said, we did engage a traffic engineer to update that study. She finished it in November, updated it for each of these projects. That was actually before we knew we were going to be working with the Cerrones and that they were at the table with the project to the south. I definitely agree with, I think it was Ann's comment that we should combine these together and look at them comprehensively. They're both in front of you at the same time. So we'll go ahead and work with the Cerrones to update the study that we've already got started and submitted to you to get the two of them working together. As far as the overall process goes, typically we'd submit sketch plan at this stage, but given our history here and our background on the project, I took the liberty of just going forward with a detailed review. Certainly any comments that you have tonight, we'll take them into consideration. If that means resubmitting, we'll go ahead and do that. But
I thought we were pretty solid where we were headed. We've got a seeker long form submitted. Our next steps, obviously understand comments, questions, concerns from the board, and then we'd like to move it forward to the town departments and town engineer for their review, and eventually get seeker coordinated review started. It'd be nice to get that going tonight if appropriate, and we'd get a public hearing started. So with that, turn it over to any questions or comments from the board.
Board comments?
Travis, John Arnold here. I think Pete was on the board with us too the last time this was.
You're right. You're right. He definitely was. He was chairman.
He's been here as long as I can remember.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, when this was proposed originally, the lots 1 through 28, or 25, excuse me, lots 1 through 25 area, I could have sworn that we had a sidewalk allowance there. Something to do with these were a little bit smaller lots, and that it was kind of aimed towards an older clientele.
Yep. Yeah, you're talking about there was an eyebrow in there that we were going to do as a senior portion, and that may or it I don't recall specifically on the sidewalk. It very well could have. I just don't remember offhand.
So, but I guess my question is that's
on that eyebrow.
There were, and so this has changed a little bit on that end.
Mm-hmm. It has.
You've kept the overall number, but the design itself has changed some since.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in that particular that nook where you're talking, and I can, you know what? That's one of the exhibits that I had here in my presentation, just to show you a side by side. And we don't usually, what, for next time, I'll just submit what I would normally present in a PowerPoint presentation to you, so we can flip through it that way.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, I was looking at this and I thought it looked very familiar, and then I noticed that there was like what you're calling an eyebrow. There was a crescent shaped road up in that south end. And I remember they were really smaller lots, but they don't appear to be smaller lots now.
No.
Okay, so there's been no allowance or consideration given for that.
No. Nope.
Okay.
No,
okay.
We've spread them out a little bit, and we're not proposing those smaller. It was going to be a little nook of senior, if I recall correctly, in there, but we've moved away from that, and these are just straight single family residential, cluster zoning compliant.
Okay. Well, my next question is, I'm not an engineer, nor am I an architect, so I don't do a lot of these design things. I just get to look at them, and I very much enjoy them, but some of the notes that are on here, I may just misinterpret. So I wanted to make sure I'm getting the right understanding here. There's a note on that road A, which is in the south end, that says begin road something. And the line for it is way up in. So I guess my question is this is now 2 parcels, 2 subdivisions, but you're sharing roads.
Yeah, so we've got to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So these roads are not necessarily all going to go in before building, because you have 2 different parcels.
Right.
Is it arranged so that the roads will allow access and all ahead of time? I mean, are you proposing that these will all be built as if it was one development? Because I don't see hammerheads at the end of your roads, nor do I see them on the other one.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and the anticipation is actually that the one that's second on your agenda would be constructed first, and that would construct the entrance to this one to go all the way through from Gansvert to Bluebird Road. And then, if and the reason that particular road A that you're talking about leads in there is that's the primary stormwater for where these roads lead to. And so it would be constructed to there. So, but to your point, these have to be set up so that they could be constructed. It could be either one could be constructed first. So if hammerheads are needed, then that's how they would be set up. If not built at the same time.
So how do we move forward with this? Now, they're being proposed as 2 separates. There's no hammerheads proposed. honestly, I don't want you designing and building hammerheads and then taking them back out when both are done, but we are forced to look at this as two completely separate subdivisions. Aside from giving approval based on both starting at the same time and working together.
Yeah, I think that probably what we'd do is we would condition, and if this is even possible, this is something we have to talk through. But if we don't show the hammerheads, which I agree with you, that's not really the long-term objective here. The goal is to do the Arrowhead meadows first, which would provide that underlying road network that this one connects to. So if it's possible to contingent, make construction of this one contingent on that road network, or it has to put in the roads regardless. I think that's the direction to head to avoid the multiple hammerheads.
Yeah, because I mean, if you do the Arrowhead one first, you still only have to, or you only have to have one hammerhead at that point, and that would be on the far south end. But you still would.
And that's the idea. Yep.
Okay. So I think,
And
I
I'll
guess,
take a look.
in my position, then in lieu of having those hammerheads shown, it would almost have to be some type of a contingency on or stipulation on the approval that they either have to be done together, or all the roads have to go in at one time, or hammerheads have to be provided right? I mean, that.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think that regardless, the objective is the Arrowhead would go first. And maybe, maybe what we do is no matter what, that connection between Gansvert and Bluebird Road goes in.
Okay.
But I'll get with legal counsel on that to understand, because the idea was to cross easements between the two to make it function, make it work. But
okay, right.
Yeah.
I guess, Travis, I have the same basic comment as I did with the previous one. I get technically why this has to come in as two subdivisions, but again, why can't this be viewed as one subdivision here with two phases? And because it's just going to make all this review awkward and cumbersome, and it would be better just to look at this as one project on two lots.
Yeah, and I think, maybe as we look at this with the planning board, we can look at the overall to make it, to look at that comprehensive plan. I can submit that as kind of a standalone separate drawing, but at this point, these are two separate properties and they are in two different LLCs. So they will be two separate applications, but I understand that, you'll look at them comprehensively, and we can submit an overall plan that reflects any changes that we make as we go.
Any plans to look into the sewer system when it comes up Bluebird Road?
I didn't understand that it was coming up Bluebird Road, Mike. Is that something that's changed since?
He didn't understand that it was coming up Bluebird Road. Is it coming up?
I believe so. Yeah, the Aggie River somehow. I believe. I don't know if there's any thought you put sewer in.
At this point, we've been 10 years or so wondering what was going to happen, and we aren't in the sewer district, and we're just going to move it forward as is.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think the other thing that, I don't know, and I think this design lends itself to is some sort of there is potential here for interconnecting pedestrian pathway, through the common area, and in many instances to the backs of these houses. That would be an interesting, it might be actually have a lot of utility to the residents of this subdivision to get around and neighbor to neighbor. I think there's a lot of potential here for that.
Yeah, it's something we can look at, and it's something we did look at previously. It's just, on a site like this where it's self-contained and we don't have any cut throughs. There's no through access. The traffic on the street is pretty minimal for activities, walking, pedestrian access, what have you, out on the street itself. It won't be parking on the street. So,
But I do think on the common area land here, the way you have it laid out, there's a lot of opportunity here for even if it's an internal pathway to the residents of these two communities, it could be a nice walking route here.
Yeah, it's something that, it certainly wouldn't be prevented, but it's not something, as far as if the HOA if the combined HOA wanted to put that together, but it's not something that we're promoting at this time.
Travis, this is Ann. You're proposing the Arrowhead development first. Will you be providing for an entranceway on both Bluebird and Route 32?
Yeah, that's right. The thought is that the Arrowhead project, which you'll see next, will construct that both entrances and connect through. That's right.
And you'll have two separate HOAs based on, I guess, the demarcation of the land, of the tax parcels?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and I think that we'll look to combine the HOAs. I quite frankly hadn't considered that before we started talking about it tonight, but it's something that I've seen before with different projects where they get combined into a single HOA, which I think would be appropriate here.
I guess
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I guess if you phase this too, you're going to have a number of dead end streets until you work all the roadways.
So the idea would be if I'm not sure if you've got the one, I think sheet 2 of that of the SRH application has the overall, but if you pull so if you pull the access through from Gansford to Bluebird Road, that connects through, and then if you come down south from Bluebird to the first intersection, there would be no initial stub there, right? And so you would keep going past that all the way down to where the stormwater management area is, and you'd have a hammerhead there until the next phase were constructed.
Okay.
Until the next project were constructed. So it'd be a single hammerhead down at the stormwater basin.
And I'd like to
I think it would be good in your next plan set to have a phasing plan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's something that I've got in the presentation. There just isn't a good, it's not part of our sheet package, but I'll include it in our next submittal.
And I'd like to echo concerns that Jim and John mentioned relative to things like sidewalks and trails. To the extent we can make this more pedestrian friendly and interconnected with some of the other neighborhoods, it would be a great asset.
I agree.
Just to piggyback on what Mary, if there's a way to tie this into the Cerrone development and get access southeast to the park, that would be outstanding because it's right there.
Yeah, and again, there's the homeowners land allows for that access here, but we don't have control over how the Cerrones develop their site.
So Travis, obviously the lot lines for the building lots are already closed up on that corner towards the park, but you could allow them to walk, to have a path that goes where the stormwater management area is. Is that possible?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's certainly opportunity to extend out into that homeowners land in a number of different locations. Yeah.
Because the Cerrone
there could
project,
be, there could be others. Yeah.
The Cerrone representative tonight seemed to be understanding of access issues, and maybe we could work a deal on their approval that includes them allowing access from that corner to the park, so that.
I think that'd be a huge benefit to this. Just
Yeah, again, I can speak with them about it. It's just, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to, you know, to suggest anything on their behalf. So I will, you know, I'll ask them about it.
And we'd have to also talk to Parks about providing an access in that corner also.
Yeah.
So.
So, yeah, so John, if I'm following you right, then you're talking about the kind of the corner where everything meets at a point there?
Yeah, but I mean, you already have your building lots all lined out there, so it'd be hard to access it from the road directly from that corner. But I thought maybe if you could come in through the stormwater management area.
Yeah.
We can get the kids out of this neighborhood onto Park, you know, Park Road without having to go out onto 32. That would be preferable, or around Bluebird, I guess.
Well, and there is room there behind lots 15 and 16. And then you can see that common area extends onto the Arrowhead Meadows land. There is room for a pathway there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of room.
Yeah. Yeah, there's room. We just don't have direct access to the park. So it relies on someone else's property to get there.
I think we can help you with that, Travis.
Yeah.
And Jared, you're okay with it being walking access, right? I mean, you're not talking about a driving access to the park, right?
Oh, I'm thinking like a footpath, bike path. Kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's what okay. I wanted to be clear on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we want to talk about connectivity there, driving connectivity. Let's just make a shortcut.
No.
Yeah.
No, because then you'll have people shortcutting from, no.
Yeah.
No, this is only pedestrian, non-vehicular.
Right, just
I
a
agree.
dirt trail behind.
Yeah, just a, stone dust or, wood chip trail, I don't know.
Somebody can walk on, ride a bike.
Yep.
Up they're done. You can even put a fire hydrant out there, Travis. You know?
I gotta think a walking path like that would be a benefit to both neighborhoods, because I know where I live. I mean, people
Absolutely.
get out and walk.
Absolutely.
Travis, do you have a proposed home size for this development?
Yeah, you're in this 1,500 to 2,200 or so square feet.
Okay.
We're working with the Michaels Group, who are developing the Winterberry project down the road.
Right.
Luke was actually going to be on tonight, but he had to take one of his children to the hospital for some reason, so he couldn't be here. He sends his apologies.
That's understandable. And is that on both? I know we're not supposed to, we're looking at them as two others, but that's the general idea for both.
That is the general idea for both.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Our board, this is one project. So I think if there's no other reason by financials, but seeker wise, traffic, HOA, it's one project. And if we would need Carla to weigh in, but I think we're setting ourselves up for a bad precedent by letting it be two. And different property owners is not the precedent that holds segmentation.
So you're suggesting that even though there's two different property owners, that it should be folded in together as far as subdivision development goes?
Yeah, we're talking the roads, we're talking HOA. There's no compelling reason that I'm finding that it isn't two projects.
Yeah, this is Ann. I agree with Meredith.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the cumulative impacts for seeker. That's fine, but it is two different entities that two different, completely different ownership, unconnected ownership that own the two parcels. So I know it's a little bit it's odd and it's awkward compared, since where we've been, but that's where we are now.
Well, the problem is that it is one plan with interconnected roads and like, and so
understood. And I don't, we've been through this. Yeah, we've been through this before with seeker with the same number of lots, and I don't, I don't anticipate any issues. So
No, Travis, I don't think anybody's suggesting that there's pitfalls ahead here with impacts and things. But I do think procedurally, you know, I agree that the board has had some exposure here for, you know, splitting up this, you know, environmental assessment. It really has to be, in my opinion, has to be assessed as one project.
Yeah, this gets into a secret question that's above my pay grade. I'm not sure how, with two different entities, how we deal with it, but I'll find out and we'll take care of it.
I just don't want to have any, you know, procedural problem here, because that's where you can run into problems if you do things outside of procedure. And I certainly don't want to have a review here that's viewed as segmented.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be reviewed all as one as far as seeker is concerned.
Travis, it seems you've made submissions to New York DEC, and if you also made submissions to the Department of Health and the DOT.
What was that, Ann? I'm sorry. So we haven't made any, so other than we've done our environmental studies, but otherwise we haven't made submissions yet. We wouldn't make those formal submissions until after your review.
Okay.
And we typically go ahead, Ann.
What about the state DOT?
So again, we wouldn't, you know, we haven't made that submission yet. They'll see this as part of a seeker coordinated review, but as far as a detail of the curb cut, they wouldn't see it until a little bit further along in the process.
Jim, has the county seen these plans yet?
I don't believe they have yet, but we'll be making that referral off on the next submission.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the file yet where Kathy's done a referral.
Board, anything further for this applicant? Go ahead.
So I just have one more quick one. Travis, this is going to be on public water. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's I'm assuming that's also interconnected
That's
between
right.
the two
Yeah,
subdivisions?
yeah, everything loops through. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Merry Christmas, Travis.
What was that? I'm sorry.
That was Mike Shaver.
Merry Christmas.
You know, I think tonight's meeting was the perfect coda to 2020.
You ain't kidding. You ain't kidding.
So just a clerical thing.
Here.
Travis, I'm going to throw you a really easy one just for fun.
Sure.
This proposal that we're looking at right now, just the half that we're looking at, has two different roads. One's listed as Road A and Road C. Am I missing Road B?
Well, there's got to be a B if there's an A and a C.
Right, but I don't see it.
Look, yeah.
I had that same question.
We'll get some
And I'm
names on there.
Eventually, we're going to have like more creative names than A or B.
I don't know.
A
That
and
might
C
be
anyways.
that'd be easy for the mailman.
It would be. So that leads me to my next question. I don't see any citing for like locations for mailbox things or
Yeah, we'll need a mail
bus
kiosk in
pickup
there.
or. So I'm assuming they would be at the entrance on 32. So maybe they're on the other project. Is it?
I think you have to
I
get
don't
those
know.
sites, you have to get those sites pre-approved with the postmaster.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, let's speak
all right.
with them about which location, but
Okay, all right. But I mean, I guess my assumption would be that there would be one for the whole thing.
that's right.
Okay.
John, Road B is in Arrowhead Meadows. And if we can get an East Street and in this thing. You know, I know some Bruce Springsteen fans would be happy.
I'll work on it.
Okay, turnabout is fair play applicant. Do you have any further questions for us?
No, I don't think so. It sounds like we've got to get seeker clarified before we can really do much more in terms of getting coordinated review going.
Very good. You have your homework cut out for you?
Yeah, and you're also gonna get clarification on that joint traffic study, correct? For both this and Jacoby Acres.
Sorry, what did you say, Jim? I thought I understood what you said.
The idea of a joint traffic study between these two subdivisions and this Jacoby Acres.
That's correct. Yep, I'll speak with the Surrounds.
And Travis, do you see any difficulty in the two owners of these two subdivisions working together as far as, you know, with seeker or as far as the road designs or road applications and that kind of thing? I mean, are these projects expected to move side by side?
That's right.
They are,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, again, it's the, you know, we've owned these for 10 years now, and they sat not moving forever, and you know, had I known now, you know, 6 months ago where things are at now with the demand and the market, you know, we may still be looking at one project as a whole, but the decision was made to split it and move them forward separately to have options, you know, and again, that's where we are now.
Okay, all right.
So you want us, when you submit next time, are you gonna be formally submitting your stormwater plan?
I thought I formally submitted the stormwater plan this time, did I not?
Okay, you did. I have it here, but, well, there's a $2,500 fee for the review chart, so.
Yeah, I think, I mean.
If you want me to go with what I have, then, I just need the $2,500 fee for the review to begin.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, so let me ask a question. I mean, I've heard, you know, we've got to get seeker solved, and I've heard some other relatively minor comments and suggestions, but I'm not hearing any major concerns with the layout or things that would have a major impact on stormwater. So unless I'm misunderstanding, I don't have a problem moving that forward and getting the review started.
You'd probably have to update your calculations, right? If it was one project.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Meredith. We've submitted an updated complete stormwater package for each of these two projects.
Okay.
That comply with the latest stormwater regulations. So they would have been done 10 years ago. The green infrastructure requirements have changed since then. So
now here's a place where you can save some money. If you're telling me this is one stormwater plan, it's $2,500. If it's two, it's $5,000.
Well,
it's planned then. It's two inspections.
It's two. Yeah.
So.
It's two different applicants, though. It's got to go in as two different stormwater plans. So if that's, you know.
I don't think so.
Because there is a chance that one moves and one doesn't. So I think it's got to be, I don't know.
Isn't the stormwater pond for both subdivisions on one of them?
Certainly, the majority of the stormwater is on the SRH TJM project. Yep.
Yeah, I only see one small pond in Arrowhead Meadows, and the two major ones are in this SRH. Yeah.
Right. Well, however you want to submit it, whatever makes the most sense from, you know, as far as the review engineer goes. But
yeah, from the review standpoint, I think it should be reviewed as one plan, and it's a $2,500 charge. Because as a practical matter, it's going to operate as one system.
That's fine. However is most efficient for him to review it.
I think it would be most efficient as one.
Travis,
that's the correct way to do it procedurally.
This is once again, a complication of this, splitting this thing up. Are we handling the stormwater from one of these parcels on another parcel?
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
We don't allow that. I don't know that we have a function that allows us to have a subdivision whose stormwater is handled off-site.
Yeah, that's a
I
question in the
don't
NOI,
know.
is are you discharging onto another parcel? So if we treat this as two, we're discharging
Hmm. That's a good point.
CRM.
And at the very least, whichever one has got the stormwater infrastructure, that one has to be guaranteed to be built first. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, we
Yeah,
don't
you've gotta
normally
have-
allow a subdivision to deal with its stormwater on another parcel.
Well, I'll tell you what, Travis, why don't you give me the $2,500 fee, and we're gonna review this as one plan and see how all of this also shakes out from a stormwater point of view of all these points that are being made.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get that to you, Jim, because I do think it'd be worthwhile to get that review started. That, you know, while the logistics may change, the layout's not going to change significantly, and the comments are going to be the same. So, and it will take them some time to review it. So we should get that started if we can.
And this is Ann. I guess the other problem is that you have two subdivisions, and both subdivisions are going to rely on a roadway entrance on the other subdivision's property to meet the two entranceway requirement.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, eventually they're all dedicated, you know, town dedicated roadways.
If we can solve the issues that seem to have been brought up in the last few minutes. I mean, I personally don't see anything about the development that strikes me as being out of character with the area.
No, I think the layout is fine, it's just this awkwardness of joining the two together.
Yep. Right, Travis, I think, was asking if there was anything else that we were seeing that was
I don't have any.
maybe a risk to him.
No, yeah, and I appreciate that, and I'll try and sort through some of these details to make sure that the board is comfortable with it, and certainly we don't want to, you know, set any type of precedent that you're not comfortable with, but I think we can figure out how to work through it. It makes sense.
Okay,
Sounds good.
I don't remember. Did we officially jump to the other application, or have we covered them both?
I think we covered it all.
I think we covered them both too.
Well, I haven't seen the other one yet.
Well, it's shown on that page 2 of the.
Kind of a mirror image of the one we just looked at.
Yeah.
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 what was that? Units between all
Between both of these major subdivisions, I think it's all 540 lots.
the, and it's a lot. Working like that.
Lots of coffee, lots of ice cream.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of a little nature trail in between these here, especially in that rec area with all those kids. It's an excellent idea.
That's how we can make that work.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Another thing to think about is another connection to the rec field over through there. Because it's not far to a couple baseball fields.
Have we sufficiently filleted, Mr. Martin, for these?
Pardon?
Have we sufficiently filleted? EDP?
Yes, that's the question. Any other questions from any other members?
No.
I'm good for tonight.
Don't forget the $3,500, Jim.
Mr. Martin, I was a bit remiss. Our first three applicants should be submitted to Saratoga County.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe they have.
Okay.
All right,
You didn't officially make that part of the.
right, but that's been done.
We need to. Very good. And seeing as how I think we've wrapped up our agenda for this evening. I'd like to take the opportunity to family, the happiest and well. There we go. After that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Abstention.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Have a great
Thank you all.
holiday.
Have a
Be
good
safe.
Christmas. Yeah.
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 Stay safe. See you, Travis.
Merry Christmas.
Yep.